Yeah. Ho, ho, ho. Ho, ho, ho. Where? Anyway, hi. How are you doing? My name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative, and welcome to Front Porch Brunch, our weekend gathering where we get together and we talk about the news, give our views, and try to survive this crazy thing that we call life. You've made it. You have made it to the weekend. You have endured. You have survived. It's okay. Y'all can breathe now and go, ah, and realize, yes, we're going to make it. We're going to be all right. We shall get through. Anyway, glad to have you guys here, and welcome to Front Porch Brunch. We are on Rumble, we are on Twitter, and we are on that quaint little alternative social media platform known as YouTube. So please, as always, if you haven't done it yet, do me a favor. Go ahead and give me a subscription on YouTube and on Rumble. 971, folks. We're getting close. We're getting close. So it would be greatly appreciated. While you're at it, why don't you just go ahead and hit the thumbs up button? You know you want to do it anyway. Leave a comment in chat. Do all those things that you guys do to make this channel grow. And believe me, couldn't be anywhere I am without you guys. You guys are absolutely awesome. Again, my name is Brian Trippett. I'm the Front Porch Conservative. I'm sometimes known as the beau in the chapeau. I'm sometimes called the common man with common sense. And in this moment, as always, I am your host. Again, we are on Rumble. We are on Twitter. We are on YouTube. Glad to have you guys here with me this morning. I can see the room is filling up very quickly. Good to have all of you. It's a pleasure to be here as your host, talking about the news and doing all those things that we do to make this thing that we do a success. Why is this not moving? Okay, there you go. Good boy. Glad you did that for me. All right. Throat's a little scratchy this morning. I'm not quite sure what's up with that. So, okay, we will endure. It's the Christmas season, as you might have noticed by this silly thing I have on my head. But glad to have all you here this morning. And it's good to see you guys. Hope it is warm where you are. Where it is for me, the sun might be shining outside, but it is very chilly. And as I've often told people, anything below 70 degrees is freezing. So, to me, this is, no, gotta go. No, gotta get rid of this. So, let's see who all's in the house this morning. I will start with the Rumble side. WWG1 is here. Good to see you as always, sir. And yes, we have all of your memes posted and ready to go, my friend. So got that going for us, which is good. TBA is in the house. We now are indeed live. So yes, indeed. Oh, and I see that link to that Mike Benz interview. I definitely want to check that out. I hear he had a fabulous conversation with Rogan. Eden's Refuge is here this morning. Good morning, Eden. And fist bumps and to y'all. Let's see who else is here in the house. Sean from Third Railify is in the house. Good to see you, sir. Merry Christmas to you. Talked to your good buddy Robert Herr the other night, and he had some nice things to say about you. And apparently you didn't even have to pay him for it. So there you go. No, I'm just kidding, Sean. Good to have you here with us this morning. Let's see who else. I think that takes care of about everybody so far on the Rumble side of things. Let's see. Over on YouTube, Z Highness is in the house. Mwah. Hello. The Duke is here from Oregon. And Gypsy, good morning. Mwah. And Duke, boom. Gypsy, I got your note. And yeah, it might be time to think about it. And we'll just leave that conversation right there for now. But I will message you back about this, because when somebody winds up getting 18,000 subscribers in less than 30 days and they just started their channel, okay, that makes me think it's maybe time to rebrand, sadly. And there is one more person. Oh, Jardam. Jardom is in the house. How you doing, Jardom? Fist bump from across the ocean, my brother. Good to have you here. And there is one more person who I have not mentioned yet, and I know that they are watching, and I want to send a special shout out to them. We will just refer to her as the lady. The lady is watching this morning, and without going into any more detail than that, to the lady I say, so I know what you're going to be going through today, so for you and all of yours. So there you go. Anyway, I'm glad the lady is watching. Glad all of you are watching, by the way. All right. Before I start getting mushy and sentimental here, which is not necessarily what I do, so, got to stay on brand, as it were. Oh, goodness. Oh, God, that crazy Canadian's here. Hello, Adam. Boom. Good morning to you. And Lana, lovely, lovely Lana. Mwah. Good morning, darling. So, all right, let's get down to business. First of all, I want to thank Robert Herr from the Washcast for stopping by on Thursday night. I'll tell you what, all three of the folks that Leah mentioned to me that she said, you got to get these guys on your channel. You got to have a conversation with them. Chris from My Morning Mayhem, Sean from Third Railify, and now Robert Herr from the Washcast. Every last one of them. Great interviews, great guys, load of fun. Absolutely all of them are just loads of fun. And Robert was absolutely an absolute blast to talk to. And we had a good long conversation, and by the way, while I'm thinking about it, he has invited me on his channel for an interview. This it's going to be taped. It's going to be recorded first, and then he'll publish it at some point on his channel. But he'll have me on the Washcast December 16th, and then from there he'll decide what day he wants to publish it. But yeah, it's an absolute blast to have him here. I want to thank him again so much for his graciousness in coming on the channel, and look forward to working with him as years go by. All right. Oh, by way of reminders, and I've got to reach out to her to confirm that we are still on, but I have not heard anything that we are not. Just to let you guys know, by way of reminder, barring some unforeseen circumstance that I don't know about, Miss Nina Infinity is going to be here on the channel this coming week. As a matter of fact, let me get this thing pulled up. There we go. She will be here Tuesday, the 10th at 7 p.m. The lovely Nina Infinity, one of the best content creators out there. She is absolutely one of the best and one of the nicest people on the whole of social media. Just a genuinely good lady. And I'm really looking forward to talking with her and having some conversation and find out more about her and where she's going with her channel and life in general and everything else. Just a genuinely sweet person. So absolutely looking forward to it. And if you've never watched any of Nina's live streams or things she's been on or things she's been a guest on, let me tell you something. You're missing out, because Nina Infinity genuinely is one of the funniest people in the whole of social media. So again, that's coming up this Tuesday night, 7 p.m. on my channel. I'm going to confirm that with her this weekend, but barring something I don't know, come next week, the Persian Princess of Positivity is going to be on our channel 7 p.m. Tuesday night. Okay. All right. Let us get down to business, as we are a wont to do. Silly business or silly business and serious business. Sean from Third Railify says, aside from my wife, I simp for Nina. Dude, you couldn't make a better choice than to simp for Nina Infinity. She is a doll, just an absolute doll baby. Now that the politics, or I should say campaign season, is behind me, I want to try and, diversify out the folks I bring on the channel and Diversification, I basically have one criteria. Do they interest me? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that this is exclusively, well, I guess you could say it's exclusively all about me, but I want to make this fun for you guys. But, one of the first criteria, does this person interest me enough? I want to have a conversation with them. Well, Nina Infinity hits that mark and goes way beyond it. So, oh God, who would be my ideal guest? Oh, that's a great question, Jardam. Wow. I'll tell you what, I'm going to answer that. I'm going to do my best to answer it by way of categories. It could be a man or it could be a woman. The sex doesn't necessarily matter to me. Okay. Do they intrigue me? Do they say things that make me want to learn more? Do I think they're funny? Do I think they're humorous? Do I think they're entertaining? And not that necessarily funny or entertaining is the main criterion that causes me to want to invite somebody on the channel. To me, I guess it's my own curiosity. It's like I listen to somebody or I see something they're doing and I'm like, I want to find out more about that person. I want to know why. I want to know why or how or what. I mean, just all the things that make them them. And so I mean, what is my ideal guest? To me, the ideal guest is someone that intrigues me enough that I want to have a conversation with them. I really want to have a conversation with them. Oh, Zippy is in the house. Good grief. I have come, I think, and now okay, that sounds like a personal problem, but all right. Thank you very much, Zippy. Thank you for letting us know. No, the litter box is that way. Anyhow, all right, let's get down to business. Today is December the 7th, and for Americans, or I should say most Americans, this day takes on a very significant remembrance. And for a particular generation that is very quickly leaving this world, it takes on a really serious significance. And I found something out on Twitter that I thought I'd share with you guys. Many people have seen the clip of President Roosevelt addressing a joint session of Congress, but they've never seen it quite the way it's going to be presented here. Someone managed to take the old black and white and they colored it. So this runs about a minute and a half, but I want you guys to see this. December 7th, 1941, the day that shall live in infamy. And here is a different version of it that maybe you've never seen before. And with that, give me a sound check. Let me know if everything's coming through okay, and check this out.
December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. The United States was at peace with that nation, and at the solicitation of Japan, was still in conversation with its government and its emperor, looking toward the maintenance of peace in the Pacific. No matter how long it may take us to overcome this premeditated invasion, the American people in their righteous might will win through to absolute victory.
There's not that many of the World War II generation left. And more particularly, there's even fewer of the Pearl Harbor survivors left. So I don't normally ask a lot of favors of my audience, but I will ask them this, and it's not even a favor for me. If you should happen to have one of those folks that I just mentioned, either a World War II survivor, or if maybe you still have a a Pearl Harbor survivor in your vicinity. I mean, I'm not telling you what to do, and I know everybody's busy and they've all got lives, but especially today, thank them for their service. They wore the country's uniform at a time when we call them the greatest generation. I don't disagree with that assessment. They wore the country's uniform not in a time of peace. There were actual bullets flying around. They could have gotten killed. Friends of theirs did get killed. Young men they went to war with, they didn't come back. Some of them. So the ones that we still have with us, if you get a chance, number one, tell them you love them. Number two, thank them for their service, especially on December 7th, 1941. Okay. From the serious to the silly, we now go to the merry memes section of the show. And as always, contributions are thanked and appreciated. And WWG1, I'm finally going to get to put together some of the ones you gave me, brother. So again, all memes are appreciated, and I thank you for them. But anyway, we shall start off with some Christmas-related stuff. Now, ladies, I need to ask a favor of you with regard to the members, the fellows, or I should say ladies, the fellow ladies in your sex. Look, y'all got to get a handle on some of this Christmas behavior that some of the women engage in. I'm not saying the ladies of this audience, y'all are classy, sassy, but now look, some of these women out there, y'all got to have a talk with, okay? I mean, I'm serious. I mean, doing this kind of thing is going to wind up giving y'all a reputation, okay? I don't know. Again, no names are being mentioned. It's none of the ladies in our audience, but seriously, some of this kind of behavior is absolutely going to get y'all, you ladies out there, a bad reputation, even if you're not engaging in it. So do yourselves a favor, police your own, okay, and get this thing under control. Did you tune in at the wrong time? No, my dear, you never tune in at the wrong time. You are always welcome here. It's kind of like, Forrest Gump's great statement, life is like a box of chocolates. Well, dear, you just happen to tune in when we're talking about, the members of your sex crawling up on Santa's lap and whispering, I've been a bad, bad girl. Look, I mean, what y'all got to do to get your Christmas gifts, that's up to you. But I'm saying, seriously, y'all need to police your own. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, true. Oh, goodness me. Yeah, I found that when I was like, yeah, we need to put that in on Saturday morning. And also, the single-mindedness of some ladies during Christmas. I mean, seriously. Again, only Yule. And some women, it's just all about the Yule and nothing else. They don't think about anything else during this time of the year. So, look, I know you ladies are going to have some hard conversations with, your fellow females, but some of these things, y'all just got to start addressing this stuff, okay? I mean, seriously, y'all got to get a handle on this. This is just absolutely out of control. Just absolutely crazy. Oh, my word. Anyhow. Okay. A lot. You disavow. Okay. Well, all right then. TBA says, brings new meaning to the Yule log. Oh, my God. Jeez. I'm not saying anything, but I'm just saying that's great. A lot has been made about the Christmas season, and it's particularly for folks on the left. Okay. I mean, look, there's been a lot of talk about mass deportations when Donald Trump becomes president again, and, people being sent out of the United States back to countries of their origins. And how can people on the right be so cold hearted and cold blooded to do that, especially during the holiday season? You're driving people away from the United States and yada, yada. Well, look, in the spirit of bipartisanship and in the spirit of trying to foster, an era of good feelings, if I may use that term, the, folks on the political right are not immune to, that criticism. I mean, it's tough. I mean, look, we're talking about whole families leaving the United States who came here illegally, and, you had that whole debate, especially during the Christmas season. So, folks on the right are trying to find a way to message this so that it doesn't come across as quite so harsh. But I'm not so sure that this is the way we really ought to be going. I mean, to take the border wall and do this, I mean, come on now. That's just, I don't know if this accomplishes, what the folks on the political right are trying to do as far as like, try and be kinder and gentler. This, I don't know. This might not be working out too good, but at least we're trying. We're trying to find a way to be a little more accommodating, of people's feelings during the holiday season. So there you go. Sean from Third Railify says, but what if all I want for Christmas is mass deportations? Who are they to take that away from me? Well, that's a good point too. If that's what you really want for Christmas, and you're telling Santa you've been a good boy all year long, who are they to try to stop you from receiving the gift you really want? I can't disagree with you, brother. Maybe those folks could spare thoughts for those made homeless by Helen. That's a good point. That's a real good point, dear. Truly, truly. All right, let's see what else do we have here in the way of the merry memes. Now, as you all are aware, there is a massive manhunt right now for the killer of Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare. Okay. And police in New York City, New York State, the surrounding areas, New Jersey, etc., are doing everything they can to try to apprehend this individual. Well, they have been aided by the killer making a horrible mistake. We now have a pretty positive ID on who was involved with this. And if you see this individual, please make it a point to notify authorities as soon as you can. Tell them where you saw this individual. Tell them, how recently it was, the date, the time, what they were doing, etc. If you see this individual, immediately contact the police in connection with that horrific crime. I mean, I'm just saying, we now have a very clear ID on who it was. So there you go. There you go. All right. You got to love high school students. And sometimes kids, be it high school students or whatever age, can give you the best answer without trying to really give you the best answer. I mean, for example, recently there was some kind of a great question that was put to some high school students, but I don't think the teacher was terribly impressed with their answer. Call me crazy. Like I say, I don't know why he didn't appreciate this. I mean, to me, it seems like a fairly reasonable answer to the question. You know, who wrote Tom Sawyer? The band Rush? No. Which, by the way, I've heard that Sean's Sean from Third Railify. That's is his favorite band. So I'm just saying he probably ought to be happy with this meme. Just saying. Oh, goodness me, goodness me, goodness me. You know, I thought it was a perfectly acceptable answer. I'm just saying. Just saying. What do you mean you hate that song, Sean? You're upset with my meme. What? Oh my goodness. No, now look, now you're getting into a fight with your fellow Canadians over this. I mean, I'll let y'all north of the border sort this out. You know, y'all do what you got to do. You do you. Okay? Just saying. During this time of year, a lot of people are trying to find ways to be generous with their fellow man. And some people, but generosity is taking on some really, really, it's causing people to do things they shouldn't otherwise do. I mean, for example, car thefts, stealing stuff off porches, etc. These crimes are on the increase. You know, people are desperate to get their hands on gifts. However, when it comes to car break-ins, there's an interesting trend that's going on. I don't know about you guys, but if you find your car window busted out, but you find more Taylor Swift tickets in it than what you started with, is that a statement about the thief, or is that a statement about Taylor Swift tickets? You be the judge. Just saying. Just saying. All right, a couple more, and then we'll get down to business. I'm sure you guys are aware of Joe Biden's recent visit to Africa. Lord help us. Well, Biden may be down to about, 30-something days till he's out of the presidency, but that does not mean he's not leaving us a lot of memories. And if you want an accurate description of what someone is like when they show up in your country, Joe Biden may have helped provide it. Check this out.
I joked with you earlier when I said, we Bidens are like poor relatives. We show up when we're invited, we stay longer than we should, eat all your food, and don't know when to go home.
You know, he's not wrong about that, folks. He is really not wrong about that. So they show up uninvited, eat too much food, stay too long, and then leave. You know, I will say this, joking aside, let me tell you something. When the Biden family is out of D.C., politically speaking and practically speaking, the relief that a lot of people are going to feel will be absolutely palpable. I mean, I said it before and I'll say it again. Do you realize that Donald Trump has, in 8 years, dispatched the 5 most powerful political families in America? The Bushes, the Cheneys, the Obamas, the Bidens, and the Clintons. Now, that's not to say that somewhere down the line we may not hear from, one of the descendants of that family, but we're not going to hear from them for a good long while. And from my perspective, that's a good thing. Just saying. All right, a couple or 3 more. And I'm sure you guys have heard about Justin Trudeau's visit to Mar-a-Lago, the Canadian Prime Minister. I'm sure Sean has talked about this at length on his channel. Well, a lot of things have been said about the meeting between Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau and President-elect Donald Trump. Well, we also have an interesting interpretation of some of the events of that meeting. And with that, I will turn this over to the French translator who strangely enough seems to have a very unique accent. Check this out.
Well, I just got done with a beautiful meeting with the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau. He sits when he pees. He doesn't want you to know that, but he does it. Everybody knows it. But you look at it, I said, Justin, we're going to slap you so hard with tariffs. He said, sir, please don't talk dirty to me. You know I love being slapped. I said, not like that, Justin. We're going to hit you so hard with tariffs, and you're not going to know what hit you. You have to close your border. You have to help us with our border. He said, we're not going to do it. I said, okay, we're going to cut off your supply of soy. He said, sir, please don't do that. I need my soy. Justin Trudeau is the #1 consumer of soy in the entire world. He consumes more soy than any nation or any man, anybody ever thought possible. He consumes so much soy. I said, Justin, you must take after your mother, because Fidel Castro was definitely not a soy boy. He said, sir, please don't cut off my soy. Please don't hit us with tariffs. It's going to hurt our economy. I said, if that's the case, you could become our 51st state. He said, but sir, what are you going to do with all the moose? I said, I've been handling moose for a very long time, and we're going to change the plural of moose to mooses, by the way. I've been handling mooses for a very long time. Chris Christie, you may have heard of him. Stacey Abrams, Rosie O'Donnell. These are some of the biggest mooses the world has ever seen, and we handled them like nothing. I said, Justin, do we have a deal? No tariffs, no soy if you don't close the border. He said, sir, you've got yourself a deal. And we may very well add Canada, too, at the end of the day. They may become our 51st state if they don't play ball. But for now, we have a deal. And Justin Trudeau returned back to Canada, sat down, took a nice leak, and went to bed. It's the art of the deal at work. We are making America great again, believe me. Well, I just got done with a beautiful meeting with...
Stop it. Well, you didn't have any idea that was the subject of the conversation, now did you? My goodness. The things you find out from the translators. And why did that translator strangely sound like Donald Trump? I don't know. What are you going to do? All right. Look, one of the worst things that can happen to an individual, especially during this time of the year, if you're focusing on your weight loss goals, okay, Christmas can be, well, and Thanksgiving too, but Christmas can be one of the worst seasons for destroying your diet. I mean, seriously, it's tough. I mean, you're trying to be good. You're trying to count your calories. You're trying to do whatever, but it's tough. All these snacks and all these parties and, specialty food items that are made, deviled eggs, has the potential to get you in trouble. Well, some people have found a very unique way to, help maintain their willpower. So, I mean, if you open your refrigerator door and you see this face looking at you saying, don't eat that, would you not feel like you're being reinforced in your effort to make good decisions? I would. So my recommendation, folks, go out and find this picture and put it inside your refrigerator somewhere. I think you will be much, much better off and happier for it. So there you go. Just a piece of advice from the electronic front porch. Okay, one more, and this one will lead into one of our discussions a little bit later on. I said that certain, obviously I'm going to let you ladies work this stuff out among yourselves, jumping up on Santa's lap and saying, I've been a bad, bad girl all year. That's not a good idea, but that should not prevent children from getting on Santa's lap and giving Santa their wish list. However, I'm not so sure that this is what someone had in mind either when they said they want, kids to get up on Santa's lap and tell Santa what they want for Christmas. Again, this just seems a little bit out of place. Just saying, but, we'll let you be the judge. What do I know? This is the 21st century. Okay. Enough of the memes. Let's get down to business. I want to talk this morning about some news that specifically that's broken in the past 24 hours as it relates to something going on in the country. Now, we had a discussion, and I say we. Tracy Barkley had me on her channel the other night, which her channel is known as Gen X Marks the Spot. If you're not following her, give her a sub. She is a sweetheart and a doll baby of a human being and one of the best true crime people on social media. And she had discussions about, the murder of the United Healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson, and also had a discussion about Daniel Penny. Now, if that name is familiar to you, but maybe you're not keeping up with what's going on, Daniel Penny was the young man on the New York subway who used a chokehold to try to restrain an individual who was at that moment going through a psychotic episode and making threats against the passengers, yada, yada, yada. Well, unfortunately, that individual who was placed in the chokehold died. And the New York DA's office, particularly the office of Alvin Bragg, the Manhattan DA, charged Daniel Penny with manslaughter and a handful of other lower charges. Well, the trial's been going on in New York City now for a little while. It went to the jury. Well, yesterday afternoon, Daniel Penny got some good news, maybe. Now, you say, well, wait a minute. Either he got good news or he didn't get good news. Well, I'll explain what I'm getting at here in just a second. But with that, here is the front page of the New York Post on Saturday morning. Manslaughter charge off the table as jury deadlocks. Now, you might see that headline and say to yourself, hey, that's great news. This guy's going to go free. Hold that thought. We'll get to it here in a minute. It's a little more complicated than that. Daniel Penny, well, I'll tell you what. First, I'm going to show you a clip from Fox News, and then I'm going to explain to you why Daniel Penny may not be totally scot-free yet. So with that, as always, do me a favor. Let me know if we've got good sound on this, and check this out from Fox News.
All right, a judge has gone ahead and dismissed the manslaughter charge in the Daniel Penny trial after the jury was hopelessly deadlocked on the issue, going back and forth on it for the better part of the afternoon. Ultimately, the judge dropping it, but of course, it's not over. There is one remaining, and that is criminally negligent behavior on the part of Penny during that whole incident. That, of course, is in the eye of the beholder, and 12 jurors who clearly couldn't agree on the more serious manslaughter charge. Anyone's guess how they will rule when they come back on this lesser charge. See,
okay, now you'll notice what Neil Cavuto said. The manslaughter charge, they can't reach a conclusion, so the charge is more or less dropped. But negligent homicide is still on the table, and therein lies the problem. And I'm going to explain what I'm getting at. I've got an article here from the New York Post. And I give the Post a lot of credit. They have followed this story very, very well. Not that I've been able to keep up with it every day myself, but if I want to know what's going on, the Post, because this is a New York story, they've really, really done well with this. So with that, let's take a look at this article and see if we can figure out what the controversy is. Because there is some controversy behind what Alvin Bragg, the Manhattan DA, is doing. And let me tell you something. As far as I'm concerned, when the jury deadlocked on manslaughter, that should have been it. But with a little bit of, shall we say, legal razzle-dazzle, Alvin is stretching this thing out, and he shouldn't be doing it. And I'll tell you why here in a minute. Article by Kyle Schnitzer and Ben Kochman. We have the following headline: Daniel Penny trial judge agrees to drop top manslaughter count after jury deadlocks twice. Manhattan prosecutors were forced to take the drastic step of tossing the top charge against Daniel Penny on Friday after jurors twice said they couldn't agree on a verdict in the highly watched subway chokehold case. The note from the jurors stating that they were deadlocked on the count of manslaughter in the second degree sparked a dizzying and dramatic back and forth that ended with Manhattan Supreme Court Judge Maxwell Wiley agreeing to dismiss the rap. Quote, I'll take a chance and grant the people's application, Wiley said, instructing the jury to return Monday and deliberate the charge of criminally negligent homicide, which carries a lighter sentence. Whether that makes any difference or not, I have no idea, but I'm going to direct you to focus your deliberations on count 2, he said with a touch of deadpan humor before telling them, go home and think about something else. The decision came hours after the jurors' first note saying they couldn't agree on whether to convict Penny, 26, of manslaughter for putting the troubled 30-year-old homeless man in a 6-minute chokehold during the May 23rd encounter on a Manhattan F train. The 12-person jury had been instructed by Wiley that they first needed to reach a verdict on the top count before they considered the lesser charge of negligent homicide. And here's a picture of Penny placing Jordan Neely in that chokehold. Deliberations began on Tuesday afternoon in the lightning rod case that has sparked fierce debate over whether Penny was justified in grabbing and holding Neely by the neck after he got the car yelling and scaring passengers. Manslaughter, which carries a punishment of up to 15 years in prison, requires prosecutors proving that a person recklessly caused someone else's death. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The second count, which carries a sentence of probation or up to 4 years behind bars, is when a person acts with, quote, criminal negligence by failing to perceive the risk of their actions but going through with it anyway. Jurors had been requested shortly before the lunch break that the judge clarify the term reasonable person, a concept that applies to Penny's justification defense. To acquit him on justification grounds, the jury would have to decide if the Marine veteran used deadly physical force. It was necessary for him to do so to defend himself or others on the subway, and whether a reasonable person in Penny's shoes would have acted the same way. Quote, ultimately, what a reasonable person is up to you to decide. Hope that helps. They also sent 2 notes saying that they were in an impasse on deciding whether Penny recklessly caused Neely's death. The judge suggested he might consider ordering a mistrial in the whole case rather than order one on just the top charges as jurors consider whether weighing the second. Wiley said he would have done this so as not to lead to a compromised verdict, which New York state courts try to avoid. Now here's where it starts getting interesting. Assistant District Attorney Daphne Yoren said that, quote, it would be a crazy result for the case to end in a mistrial without first seeing if the jury might reach a verdict on the second lesser count. She could then be seen pacing around the courtroom on her cell phone and talking to DA Alvin Bragg's office staff in the front row of the gallery. The veteran homicide prosecutor left the room but returned minutes later alongside of Stephen Wu, the chief of the DA's office appeals bureau. Wu then argued to the judge that axing the manslaughter charge would eliminate the threat of a compromised split verdict. Penny's defense attorney still objected to the judge dropping the top count, slamming the move as a possible ploy to coerce jurors to reach what they call a compromised verdict. Quote, the law is clear that compromised verdicts are to be avoided, Attorney Thomas Kenneth told the court. This is essentially elbowing the 12 members of a jury to do just that. Okay, now I want to talk about this for a minute. Okay? And I want to go back to something in the article to kind of set this up. Okay? The second count, and here's the sentence. The second count, which carries a sentence of probation up to 4 years behind bars, is when a person acts with criminal negligence by failing to perceive the risk of their actions, but they go ahead and do it anyway. Failing to perceive the risk of their actions, but going through with it anyway. I mean, okay, I'm sorry. How in the infernal region of hell is Daniel Penny he's gonna sit there and contemplate that question? No, he's trying to keep his fellow passengers on the train from being accosted or perhaps physically harmed by this man who's got enough synthetic marijuana in his system to kill a small horse. which unfortunately for him, and it wound up killing him. Jordan Neely's not thinking about that. He's like, look, I've got to restrain this guy. I've got to try to bring this to a stop. Now, that charge is just frankly ridiculous enough. Okay. But the part that gets me about this, and Tracy, I am glad you're here this morning. I really am, darling. Which, by the way, she had a live stream last night talking about this case and the Brian Thompson case. Check that out on YouTube. You really need to. It's good stuff. I got to listen to part of it this morning while I was getting ready for my live stream. And I'll tell you what, Tracy, as always, very informative, very good at what she does. But the part that gets me about this is what the judge has done here. Now, I am no lawyer. I will freely admit that up front. You guys know that. I've said that on more than one occasion. But common sense to me says, if you cannot get a conviction on the top charge of manslaughter, you know what? I think I want to do that. I think I want to do that for when we're talking. Yeah, absolutely I do. Hang on a minute, dear. Give me a second. I'll shoot you the link. Take your time. But yeah, I think I do want to have you talk about this for a few minutes with me. So give me a second here, darling. One moment. Let me shoot this out to you because, yeah, this to me needs to be talked about. All right, dear. I just shot you the link. I just shot you the link in on to your DMs on Twitter. So, but the part that gets me, all right, we got you. Like I said, darling, take your time. You're all good. But yeah, I want to ask you about some of this because to me, this is just absolutely absurd. Just absolutely absurd. But the part that gets me about this is, if you cannot convict this man, if you cannot convict him on the manslaughter charge, then the second count of criminal negligence ought to just go away. What they've done is they've said, well, you know, we can't let's just divide it out. Well, I mean, I'm sorry. If you can't convict him for one, you can't convict him for the other. I mean, the other is just absolutely crazy. Basically, what you're saying is he lacked common sense. Common sense should have told him that if he does this and it goes wrong, he could be criminally negligent. He hasn't got the time to try to figure that out. He's just trying to use his common sense and keep these poor fellow passengers on this, commuter train from being accosted or physically harmed by this man. So if you cannot get him for manslaughter, you sure as hell cannot get him for criminal negligence. Okay? But the judge is like, well, we'll just split them and we'll see if we can do it. No. Absolutely not. If you can't get him for one, you sure as hell shouldn't be able to get him for the other. But, as WWG1 points out over on the Rumble side, common technique, throw out a bunch of charges and see if any of them stick. That's to me, that is garbage. And it's a compromised verdict. I absolutely agree with Daniel Penny's defense attorney in this. You're trying to elbow these jurors and go, hey, look, you can't get him for the one, but you still got the criminal negligence out there. Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely. And I cannot wait to ask Tracy about this. I really can't wait. And again, Tracy, take your time, darling. There's no rush. You do what you want to do here. Let's see what everybody's saying about this. Completely agree. It's complete. Yeah, it is BS. And Adam, that's a really good point. A Marine in civies is still a Marine. Judge asked the prosecutor for case law, and there is none. That to me is extraordinarily telling. I'm telling you what. Do I think that Alvin Bragg is going to be removed from his office as prosecuting attorney in Manhattan? I mean, look, it's Manhattan. I rather doubt it, but I'll tell you one thing. I'll tell you this much. If this guy is not brought up on ethics charges before the New York State Bar, I don't know what to do. I mean, people have been advising business owners, etc., get out of New York State. it's this kind of justice that's causing people, among many other reasons, to flee New York City and flee New York State. Daniel Penny did nothing wrong. I'm sorry, he didn't. He used his common sense. He tried to restrain a man who was having a psychotic episode. And this is the thanks he gets. Now, did Jordan Neely die? Yes, he did. Is it tragic? Yes, it is. And I'm very sorry that he did. But Daniel Penny did not do this with malice aforethought, and he did not engage in manslaughter. It is absolutely ridiculous to argue otherwise, and the only reason Alvin Bragg is doing this is to get himself a scalp. And with that, my good buddy Miss Tracy has shown up. Tracy, give me a thumbs up if you're ready to come on in, dear, and then I'll bring you in. Just give me a thumbs up real quick if you're good and back there. Okay, I got a thumbs up. All right, we're going to bring in probably one of the best people to talk about this because, I know y'all got questions. I've got questions. And with that, the proprietrix of the channel, Gen X Marks the Spot, please welcome back to the Electronic Front Porch, my good buddy, Tracy Barkley. Hey, darling. How you doing this morning? You're mute. All right, now you're unmuted.
Doing well. Thanks for having me on. This is awesome.
No, I'm glad to have you. I mean, I
doing great. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, glad to have you here. So, okay, help me understand this and help the audience understand this. Basically, Daniel Penny's been charged with two different things. One of them is manslaughter in the second degree, and the other one is criminal negligence. Am I stating this correctly, or are there any other charges that I'm not aware of?
You're kind of freezing up. I don't know if it's
okay. You're freezing up on. Okay. Take your time. It's all good.
Let me switch over to another.
Okay.
Internet.
Okay. Yeah, just take your time. I can sing Christmas carols and stretch it out and do all kinds of silly things to keep this thing going. And while we're waiting for that, Gypsy's got a comment here. I've heard several former prosecutors say first thing Monday morning, Penny defense is going to pitch a fit after a weekend of research. Oh, now that'll be interesting. That'll be very interesting to watch.
Well, okay. I think I'm back now. Sorry about that.
You're good. You're good.
I had to switch over to a hotspot. I think his attorney's already raised some ruckus. Because like everybody's been saying, they think this is a compromise to get a compromise verdict because they couldn't move on to the second charge is if they were deadlocked on the first charge. So they see this as kind of a compromise verdict. Well, if we give them this, maybe they'll convict him of the lesser charge.
Okay. So they're basically just two charges. In other words, it's manslaughter in the second degree and negligent homicide. Okay, now explain negligent homicide to me because I'm reading the New York Post, and to me, negligent homicide means okay, you just didn't use your common sense, therefore I can charge you for it. Or does negligent homicide carry more nuance and connotation to it than I'm thinking about?
Well, negligent homicide is basically you are doing something that is perceived as reckless, but not understanding that what you're doing could lead to someone's death. Whereas manslaughter is you're doing something reckless that you absolutely know could lead to a death. And there's different degrees of that. Whereas, murder is premeditated. You actually intended to kill someone. So that's the reason something like firing a gun into a crowd would be a manslaughter if you killed somebody. But what happened here could technically be negligent homicide. But what I'm seeing is defense of yourself and others. But I know New York's not real big on self-defense. And the fact that I have analyzed those photos to the point that I'm driving myself batty, It was not a chokehold. It was a restraint hold. His arm was slack around Neely's arm. That choke did not kill him.
Right.
Whatever was going on in his body is what killed him. Just like George
Okay.
Floyd. And that's probably why I'm shadow banned, because I've said that. George Floyd had enough fentanyl in him to kill a horse.
Okay. Okay.
And Chauvin's knee on the back of his back did not kill him.
Right. Well, here, okay,
Sorry,
so
I
basically,
ran all day about it.
no, honey, you just ran all you want to. You're just perfectly fine. Because I've watched parts of the video. I've seen the still photos, and to me, I don't know how you charge Daniel Penny with criminal negligence. Okay, if the definition of criminal negligence is you're engaging in a behavior that is reckless and you have not thought purposefully that your action could lead to someone's death or something really bad happening, I don't see how you can charge Daniel Penny with that. It's like you said, he's restraining Jordan Neely. Okay? I mean, they keep calling it a chokehold. Yeah. It wasn't a chokehold. He restrained the man. That's
restrained
it.
Hold.
Yeah, that's it. That's all.
And he was the only person restraining him.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was a black gentleman and a Latino gentleman. A Latino gentleman also restraining him.
Yeah. And this is
they're not being charged.
Yeah, and this is a good point too that up in Connecticut makes. When the police got there, Jordan Neely was still alive. If what Daniel Penny did was so lethal, because I don't know how long it was from when the train stopped to when the police arrived in the car itself. Okay, if you know that detail, drop it in there. But my point is this: if he was alive when the police arrived on scene, okay, then how can Bragg's office, the DA, make the charge that it was Daniel Penny's actions that killed Jordan Neely? The man was still alive when the police got on scene. Yeah.
Because let's say it was a chokehold. Okay. Either he would have died right away from asphyxiation, he would have been dead and limp in Daniel Penny's arms, or if it had crushed his windpipe, it would have been a very ugly, convulsing, turning blue kind of death that everybody would have noticed.
Exactly.
The fact that he just was laying there and expired is the key, that it was probably all the drugs in his system, or just years of living in squalor and, malnourished. Something killed him, but it wasn't what Daniel Penny did.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And this is another good point too. The gentleman who was holding, Jordan Neely's legs down ran. Cops had to search for him. He was granted full immunity to talk. So he's off the hook. He can make up whatever lie he wants to, or stretch the truth however he needs to make himself look like at a minimum, just an innocent bystander, or at worst, make himself look like the hero. And, Daniel Penny is the murdering so-and-so and all this deal. I just, from a legal standpoint, I don't see, and I was telling the audience this before you got on here, I don't see how this judge, in good conscience, just doesn't declare the whole thing a mistrial, because they're deadlocked. And if you can't get him for the manslaughter charge, which to me is is worse than criminal negligence, well, if you can't get him for one, you shouldn't be able to charge him and convict him on the other. You throw the whole thing out. But as one of my regulars in Rumble chat said, this is a regular thing. Put a bunch of charges out there, see which one of them sticks, and there you go. You got yourself a conviction, which to me, either you get him on the main one or you don't get him at all. But this is just absurd what's being done here. It really is. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, the reason that the judge hasn't dismissed it is the same reason the judge didn't dismiss any of Trump's the Trump trial, because it's all political. Alvin Bragg cannot have self-defense become a thing in New York City. I could name many cases where people of all races have been wrongfully accused when they were just defending themselves or others. They don't want self-defense to become a thing in New York City. New Jersey, there's not even a stand your ground law in New Jersey. If someone breaks into your house, you are legally bound to flee. You cannot shoot somebody that enters your house. You don't have there are no castle doctrines in New Jersey. And New York's the same way. If someone approaches you, you're supposed to run away.
See, to me,
and like here in Tennessee, if someone breaks into my door, I can shoot them dead.
Which, from my perspective, if you've determined that they are a threat to you, your family, your person, whatever, and they are not going to stop their advance, then yeah, by all means. I mean, not that I'm advocating to see anyone harmed, but if you're going to do that under the law, the doctrine of basic self-defense, I have the right to defend my person and my property, especially if you invade my home. I mean, to me, that shouldn't even be a state thing. That's just, to me, universal, but I don't see it. I mean, again, New Jersey and New York are just, in that regard, are extraordinarily, to me, out of step with what most people would think. I mean, and think about it from the perspective of the homeowner in New Jersey or New York. You've spent your life living in a home. You've done your best to improve it as much as you can. It's literally your castle. May not be the biggest castle in the world, but it's your castle. And now this person gets to come in and I've got to run away after everything I've invested into this home, materially or otherwise. And I'm just going, oh, here, please. The silver is over there in the cabinet, and the fine china is about 2 drawers up from that. Take it all, baby. No, I'm going to put this dude on the ground, hopefully without lethal consequence doing it. It's just, to me, that's just crazy. But I mean, where do you? I mean, look, you watch this stuff.
It clearly doesn't want self-defense.
Oh, agree.
Clearly, self-defense is not a thing in New York City, and Alvin Bragg does not have any intention for it being a thing.
I agree. No, that's fine. But let me ask you this: come Monday, where do you think this is going? I mean, are they going to go back? Are they going to go?
I'm afraid I don't think there's going to be sadly, I don't think there's going to be an acquittal. I see one of two outcomes: either another hung jury, and I hope whoever is voting not guilty stands their ground, ironically, holds the line, or it's going to be conviction, and he's probably going to give him a slap on the wrist.
Okay.
Because, it's either probation up to 4 years. I don't think he'll do jail time.
Yeah, he shouldn't.
But he'll probably give him like 2 years probation or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, and to me, he shouldn't be. After Friday, he shouldn't even be coming back to the courtroom. It's just ridiculous what Alvin Bragg is doing here.
Right. Because that was the most outrageous thing. Is when the judge told them, the way the judge wants you to, consider the second one, go home and think about something else. That's just weird code. I mean, but I think even if he is convicted, it's going to be overturned on appeal, because once you get to the appeals court level, you have some more level-headed, non-political judges. I think it'll be overturned in appeal, because this whole situation, the way this was handled, is just totally against Daniel Penny's constitutional rights, and it'll be overturned in appeal. The same way some of Trump's cases within the state of New York will probably be overturned on appeal.
Oh, I agree.
But that'll get buried, as they say, on page 20.
Yeah. And again, people like Alvin Bragg and Letitia James and others in the New York legal community up there will continue to absolutely trample the rights, either the natural law rights of citizens of New York or their rights under New York state law as it's currently written. And they're going to keep driving people out of New York. They really will. I mean, just to, as an aside, to go back to the cases against Trump, the Arthur Engeron $400 million decision.
They're going to keep.
And then, go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, they're just going to keep driving people out of New York State. They really will. They're going to keep losing population until finally New Yorkers take hold of this thing. Go, we've got to put some of these people out of office because they're not interested in making sure the law is applied equally,
Meant
and
to
they're most
protect
certainly not protecting our rights. Yeah, yeah. It's absolutely absurd. Absolutely absurd what's going on here.
Mhm.
You know.
And
But
now you
yeah,
got
I
these
mean,
BLM people, as M16 said, threatening to riot.
you
F them.
know,
Bring them. Bring it on. Bring it on.
well, I mean, look, BLM doesn't have much credibility left anyway. And frankly, if they want to die on this hill, you go right ahead, baby. You do you. And whatever credibility you got left with the people of New York State, New York City, and around the country, you're just going to basically take it and flush it right down the toilet. Because everybody who's looking at this case objectively is coming to the same conclusion. Daniel Penny is involved in a tragedy. Tragedy that, yes, he had a hand in making, but not with deliberate, malicious malice aforethought and uh, and and trying to take out the life of Jordan Neely. You know, that's just absolutely absurd.
Daniel Penny was on that F train to go to his class, his college class, and then to go to
Yep.
the gym and work out, and then to go
Yeah.
home. That was his entire plan for that day. And Jordan Neely happened to have a psychotic break or a drug-infused break or whatever you want to call it. And fortunately, he started assaulting other people on the train, and Daniel Penny took it upon himself. I saw a meme this morning that said Laken Riley would still be alive if Daniel Penny had been jogging that day.
Yeah. And that is a great point. That is an
You know,
absolutely great.
can't say it anymore. That really made an impression on me.
Yeah. Yeah. If yeah, that's sadly, I think the author of that meme is absolutely correct. I really do. You know, absolutely do. It's tragic. It really is.
What
Um,
Gypsy's saying, the Neely's estranged parents that have not housed him or given him food or anything else or support over 20 years have suddenly come out wanting to sue Neely or sue Penny. They didn't care about their
sure.
son when he was alive. Nobody in the
Yeah.
family did, but now they're going to cash in on it.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Very sad indeed.
Just
Very.
bunch of freaking sons of bitches.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, let's just call them what they are. They are disgusting human beings that, frankly, are preying upon a situation for their own financial benefit. They don't give a damn about Jordan Neely. If they'd have given a damn about Jordan Neely, they would have done something about it while the man was alive. I mean, and even, I forget who was talking about this. I forget now, but someone said, we failed Jordan Neely in life in that New York City and New York State has opportunity after opportunity after no, it was Eric Adams. It was Eric Adams who was talking about this, the mayor. Mm-hmm. He said, we have every kind of support system imaginable in New York City and New York State to try to help people like Jordan Neely to actually get help. And he just slipped through the cracks, or we just moved him through the process, and no one took the time to really try and take care of this young man, and now he's dead. And in that regard, I agree with Eric Adams.
Goes into the social welfare system in New York City, in particular, that they're giving it all to illegal migrants instead of giving it to the people. And there's probably no system of incarcerating someone that is mentally ill, because they don't need to be in a prison. They need to be in a psychiatric facility. And that is one of the biggest mistakes that Reagan did, is to close the public asylums. They needed to be revamped, upgraded. They needed to be reformed, because there was a lot of abuses that went on in them, but they needed to be reformed, and they need to be reconstituted, because we do have a mental health crisis. And I've seen a lot of people online that would do well in a stint in an asylum.
Keith Oberman. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say that out loud? Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, Rosie, Keith. I can think of a few right off the top of my head that bless their hearts. They could use some help. Anyway, yeah, it's a crying shame what's being
I
done
watched
to
a
Nancy.
documentary on Hunter Biden last night.
Mm-hmm. Really?
The way he was in and out of the system, he was in and out of rehab so much it would make your head spin. And he never got the proper care. He only got released because of his father's name. We do the mentally ill in this country such a disservice. And that's the reason we have a lot of the issues that we have today.
Well, and that sort of begs another question. Are we causing the mental illness? And I guess here's what I'm getting at. Are there individuals who are genuinely, for either physical reasons, emotional reasons, chemical reasons, do they have psychological problems? Yes. Okay. I also wonder, on one hand, if through some of what we're doing, either the way we consume news, the way we consume certain products, foods, drugs, etc., how much of this are we creating on ourselves? And then we have to treat it on the back end. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we don't have a responsibility. Yeah, I'm not saying we don't have a responsibility to do something about it after it becomes obvious that it's happened. But I'm just saying, if we in this country focused more on preventative medicine, not just for the physical, but for the mental, God, how much better off would we be?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one of the biggest
and
expenditures.
The physical has a lot to do with the mental.
Yeah, absolutely. When you got a body that's just absolutely aching and hurting and it just starts taking a toll on you mentally, and it just starts wearing on you.
I mean, look at how you can look at the generational gap. Look at the existence of the proclivity of mental illness with the silent generation, and then with the baby boomers, and then with Gen X, our generation. It skyrocketed with millennials and Gen Z. And a lot of it is the food that we're now eating. It's processed garbage. There's no relying on nutrition and exercise anymore. It's just give them a pill.
Yep.
Give them a pill. And there's so much. I hate to bring this up, but when corporal punishment was kind of made illegal, a lot of shit went down. And a lot of these kids were raised with no rules, no sense of discipline, no sense of participation trophies, no sense of winning or losing. To lose gracefully is a great lesson. And then on top of that, you pile gender ideology, SSRs. There's no wonder we're mentally ill. And then the media making us all fearful for our lives. There's no wonder there's so much mental illness.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. We're doing ourselves the worst forms of harm, and we don't even think about it. And that's, not to get necessarily into the political, totally off this topic of Daniel Penny, but one of the things that I am looking forward to is a very, hopefully, honest and open discussion about, the things we consume, both physically in terms of food and mentally in terms of, information, some honest and open discussions about, how is that affecting us, and can we turn this thing around and make it better? Because it's like you said, were there problems in the silent generation or the greatest generation as far as mental health issues? Yeah. Was it as prevalent as it is now? No, not even close.
A lot of that was reference to the fact that about 60% of the men and women who served in support capacities fought World War II and Korea. So a lot of that was PTSD induced. So yeah, there was mental illness.
Exactly. So
that's why they call them the silent generation. They kind of sucked it up, Buttercup. And I'm not saying that's the best way to do it, but that's why.
Oh, absolutely. So yeah, this whole Daniel Penny thing is gonna continue to percolate out there. But sadly, it's like you said, if this thing is overturned on appeal, it'll be on page 20 on, the backside of the New York Times or wherever, and no one's going to realize, that finally justice was done when it never should have been served in the first place. That to me is the
I
tragedy
need to
of it.
check. I don't know. I know Kathy Holcomb has pardon privileges, and she's not going to help him.
No,
She's right in leagues with Alvin Bragg. I wonder if Eric Adams can do anything. Since it happened in New York City, I wonder if he has the capacity.
we'll see.
He might
We'll see.
if he does.
Zippy with a Rumble rant. Thank you very much for that, sir. Most of modern health issues stem from a lack of manual labor and exercise. Sweat gets the toxins out. Very true, my friend. Very true indeed. Very true. But yeah, so that's what's going on with
I love
Daniel
what
Penny.
Nick Willis says. He
Oh,
says, I enjoy Cheetos, my friend, and Doritos. Don't get me wrong, I really do. But
hey.
I'm still trying to get the last 80 pounds off. I mean, I let myself, Brian, get up to almost 400 pounds about 3 years ago, and it's been a long, cumbersome to get back down. I'm back down to just under 250 now, and I want to get down to 160, so I've got about 80 more pounds to go. But it's a struggle because every day I want Doritos. I'm a Doritos and Mountain Dew girl, and I am just, I think that's from being a Gen Xer. That was our jam: Doritos and Mountain Dew.
If I could eat pizza and pasta all the time, I'd do it. And it's like, I know that stuff at some point is just, I gotta lay off of it because it's killing me. It really is, But yeah, with me, it's Diet Coke and toffee, like Heath bars and stuff like that. Loves me some good toffee. Loves me some good toffee. But yeah, that's what I got for Daniel Penny. I mean, if you want to hang around, darling, I got a few more topics of different things to get into. I'd love to get your take on them. But yeah, if you want to hang around,
I don't want to like.
No. You're fine. You're absolutely fine. I mean, shoot, I'd love to have somebody to bounce this stuff off of. So tell you what we're going to do.
Me up, man.
Oh, Moses was a mountain Jew. Oh my God, it's just. Oh Lord, disavow! I disavow. TBA says, "Oh, surely it's not. It's not the
king of dad jokes."
I know. TBA says, "Oh, are you sure, Brian? It's not the deviled eggs that are working on you." Hey, I really miss the deviled eggs working on me, man. You eat that much egg yolk and egg white, and yeah, it will work on you. It will work on you.
As somebody, Brian, that lost a significant amount of this weight on the keto diet, deviled eggs are not a bad choice at all. It's just if you eat them with a lot of bread and processed carbs, that's where your sugar, that's where your problem comes in. But if you just eat meat, green leafy vegetables, and eggs, you'll lose a ton of weight. It gets boring after a while, but you do lose a ton of weight.
You will lose a ton of weight. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, folks, we're going to do a real quick commercial since we're sort of at a transition point between topics. And with that, you see this lovely lady sitting right over here. This is Tracy Barkley of the channel Gen X Marks the Spot. My name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative, and we would both appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to our channels, go ahead and give us a sub. Also, hit the thumbs up on this live stream, leave a comment in chat, do all those things you do that make my channel grow. Or to quote the legendary baseball man, Jack Buck, go crazy, St. Louis. And if you don't have to be in St. Louis either, you can be anywhere and do all this stuff. Subscribe, thumbs up, all that good stuff. Leah is here this morning over on the Rumble side. OMG, I pulled up the Rumble app on my phone to look something up and saw Brian in a Santa hat, had to drop in. I suddenly feel the need to tell him that I've been a good girl this year. Oh my goodness. Leah, behave yourself, woman. I will put it this way. I don't think that she has a jealous bone in her body. We haven't discussed that yet, but the lady is watching. So I kind of, Leah, I need you to be on your better behavior. Of which, having said that, I'm going to get a phone call. There's like, who's Leah? I'm just kidding. Anyway, let us shift topics, if we may, and get into a discussion well, maybe an update's the better way of saying it. Of where Pete Hegseth is in his quest to become the Secretary of Defense, and more particularly as it relates to one individual, and that is what seems to be now his public nemesis, although she would never admit to it, which is something that just frustrates the ever-living crap right out of me. And his public nemesis is someone that, on its face, you wouldn't necessarily think of, but she's within a hair's breadth of becoming the Liz Cheney of 2024. And that is U.S. Senator Joni Earnst, Republican from Iowa. Now, I mean, and Tracy, feel free to jump in on this thing at any point you want to, because I'm kind of just teeing this one up right now. To give you guys an idea.
Isn't she the one that cheated on her husband while he was deployed?
That's the one, dear. Or allegedly. Let's just say allegedly.
Is that the level of person that we want?
Oh, yeah.
And all she's coming on him, he drinks, and he's got a lot of kids. Who cares? That's his business. Frankly, I don't care if you cheat on your husband. I'm not going to do it. It's none of my business. But cheating on a deployed soldier is the epitome of scummery. So that tells me all I need to know about your character.
Yeah, and not only was she cheating on her deployed husband, allegedly, she was cheating with a subordinate under her command. And, that's just, that's not good. That's not good. Well, anyway, where it stands with Hegseth
right now. Don't get your honey where you get your money.
Bingo. Preach it, my friend, preach it. So where it stands right now, it looks like, I'm not saying that Hegseth has turned the corner here, but he went on a full-throated defense of himself and his actions, and he got some backup from the boss. I've got a Truth Social here from President-elect Donald Trump. Pete, and this was, I believe, Thursday or Friday, I forget which. Pete Hegseth is doing very well. His support is strong and deep, much more so than the fake news would have you believe. He was a great student at Princeton and Harvard with a military state of mind. He will be a fantastic, high-energy Secretary of Defense, one who leads with charisma and skill. Pete is a winner, and there is nothing that can be done to change that. Well, Hegseth backed up the boss's statement and gave what I think is probably one of the best retorts to the press that I think I've ever heard. And with that, I want to share that with you guys. And then we're going to get into a discussion of Joni. Dear Joni. So check out this from Pete Hegseth. This is 30 seconds of just absolutely, you guys take it and go shove it gold. Enjoy the following.
You fight, you go do tough things in tough places on behalf of your country. And sometimes that changes you a little bit. And by the grace of God, and my Lord and Savior, I had an opportunity to come on up out of it and do great things with great veterans organizations that fought for vets, that fought for reform at the VA and for war fighters, and at the Fox News Channel to advocate for those very same causes. And I'm proud of what I fought for. I'm not going to back down from them one bit. I will answer all of these senators' questions, but this will not be a process tried in media.
Now, what he just said with that last statement, that we're not going to try this in the media, that's the problem. This is being tried in the media. You have a bunch of unnamed sources, totally anonymous. They will not go on the record. No names are being given about who's making these accusations. This is a whisper campaign. Look, Tracy, you're old enough to know this. I'm old enough to remember all these. It was, as a matter of fact, someone had to remind me the other day of really the first time. Well, I won't say the first time. One of the first times this was done. This was done back in 1989 to then Senator John Tower of Texas. That man knew the Defense Department because he was in Congress and on the Armed Services Committee in the Senate. He knew the Pentagon back and forth like, the back of his hand. That said, however, John Tower was an old school Washington Paul. He liked to drink. He loved to party. Everybody knew that. And what happened, and this is before the era that we currently find ourselves in, enough of this came out. They were like, and Poppy Bush like, well, we really can't have this nomination. They chucked him. What did we get? Dick Cheney for Secretary of Defense. The same playbook is being run against Pete Hegseth. Anonymous sources, accusations everywhere. You know, when I heard the complaint, you know, he likes to drink, you know, I thought back to Lincoln's great retort. Well, I don't know what Ulysses Grant drinks, but go get a barrel of it, give it to all my generals. But in the meanwhile, go get me Grant. The man knows how to fight. Donald Trump ain't backing off of this. Hegseth's not backing off of this. And frankly, I'm sort of the frame of mind right now. You know what? If there are supposedly a number of Republican senators that, you know, don't want to see Pete Hegseth become, you know, the Secretary of Defense, okay, let's take it to a vote in the Senate. The hell with it. Let's get you guys on the record right now. None of this hiding behind the scenes, you know, doing y'all's thing out there, putting the knife into this guy's back. Is he a perfect human being? No, he's not. Is he the president's choice? Yes, he is. And absent finding something criminal about this man or finding something that says he cannot do the job, then you guys shut up, vote to approve him, and let's move on. You know, your thoughts on this?
It's what I said. All of my military friends, we all engaged in a certain amount of degeneracy while we were in the service. It just happens. I mean, it just happens. And to tell me that Washington politicians don't drink and party, BS. Why do you think they're keeping those Diddy tapes so far under wraps? And the Epstein, there's people that are in power right now that have done far worse than they're accusing Pete Hegseth. He's only under the fire because he's Trump's choice. And they know he's going to come in there and slash and burn just like he needs to. And I agree with you. If he wants to tie one on and womanize, that's his business. You can I saw a meme the other day. You can tell by the amount of children he has. His pullout game is not real strong. So, you know, he's a man's man. He's a man's man, and I have no problem with that. And I want him to drain that freaking swamp.
Well, especially
and to come at him.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
About drinking. Fox News has already confirmed they've never seen him drunk on set. His co-host. So all of that is absolute BS.
Yeah, I mean, I read a tweet the other day from somebody who used to run Mediaite, which is no right-wing organization. And he made the statement, like, look, I work in the media business. He said, I know how cutthroat it is. He said, and I especially know how cutthroat Fox can be, even though I've never worked there. He said, trust me, if Pete Hegseth were drinking on set, whoever wanted his seat on the weekend show, they would be leaking it all over Inside Fox, and Pete Hegseth would have been gone a long time ago. You know, this to me is absurd. It's absolutely absurd. You know, Zippy with another Rumble rant. Thank you very much, sir.
Going back to Adam's thing.
Hegseth is JFK. I swear he has the energy and the swagger. Can't disagree with that assessment, sir. Adam, see, Gates also enjoys female. Oh my lord! Well, all right. Point taken. I agree with
Any man in power gets female company. Trump does not have to pay for it. He does not have to insult women. Pete Hegseth does not. Matt Gaetz does not. Bill Clinton didn't, although he did abuse women. They don't have to pay for it. They don't have to pay for it. Women throw themselves willingly at him. It's just the matter. Women fantasize about handsome men in power. And to use that, to me, that's a plus. You got somebody that's got swagger and got game. That shows me an alpha male, which is what you need in these positions, is an alpha male or an alpha female if it's on the reverse.
And frankly, if we are going to reform the culture at the Pentagon, I mean, there's so many things about the American defense industry. And when I say the defense industry, I don't just mean the companies that manufacture our weapons. I mean the Department of Defense, the overall culture, what we are doing in the name of defending the United States. If we're going to have any kind of real reform, then we got it. Is Hegseth the answer? I don't know. Is he the guy Trump thinks ought to be there? Absolutely. And you know what? If Pete Hegseth will look out for our fighting men and women, okay, All right, I'm good with that because frankly, we've had some secretaries of defense that, I'm not going to go so far as to say that they were calloused and unfeeling and just didn't give a damn, but sometimes you had to wonder, were you calloused, unfeeling, and you didn't give a damn by some of the actions you engaged in as, at DOD's as SecDef, you know? So, yeah, Petraeus is
Permanently causing
very good.
wars, permanently keeping
Mhm.
wars going. I want somebody, whether it's Hegseth, not to get in there, make sure the Veterans Administration treats vets with respect and they get the treatment. You can talk to anybody that is disfortunate enough to have to get their medical care from the VA, the waiting lists, the shoddy treatment that can happen. And vets cannot sue for government benefits or sue the VA. That's been on the books for centuries. That kind of I want that reformed. I want to make sure that no vet that has served us in any capacity is living on the street homeless, that there's
Yep.
treatments and shelters available for them. And I also want to cut all the unnecessary waste that the Pentagon does. I would say billions by cutting out unnecessary waste. I have a very good old friend. He is a retired Air Force officer. We taught at the same college. He was a member of the RAND Corps, which is a huge conservative military think tank.
Yep.
He himself showed me some studies that they had done that they outlined the huge amount of government waste. I'm talking like gold-plated toilet seats. I'm not kidding you. That don't need to be anywhere. That's the kind of waste that Donald Trump and, Vivek and Hegseth and Elon want to cut out, and it would save billions that could then be diverted into more needful things like government programs. And how about 90% of government employees working from home? I work from home myself. It can work with the right people, but knowing what I know about most government employees, they are just sitting, not working, and sucking up that salary. I'm fully in favor of bringing them back to the office where somebody can supervise them or getting rid of them, because I bet you could reduce the workforce by 20 or 30% and run more efficiently if you have the right people
Absolutely.
in place.
And I want to get to this comment because this is going to lead us right to the heart of Hegseth's problems. Okay. I'm going to say something's probably going to get me in trouble if certain people see this live stream, but my response to that is, oh, well, what else is new? There are a bunch of, and this audience knows this. Okay. I'm not saying anything to you guys you don't know, but there are a bunch of snakes inside the Senate Republican caucus. And one of the biggest ones is Lindsey Graham. Okay. And I'm going to put this back up here because this needs to be talked about. Okay. Old Lindsey is one of the biggest snakes in the grass. Donald Trump, if you ever should happen to see this live stream, please do not ever make the mistake of trusting Lindsey Graham for anything. Use him as you need to. Yes, I did say use him because let's be honest, politicians use each other. I get it. But don't ever make the mistake of trusting Lindsey Graham because he's going to screw you over every time. He tried to screw over your choice of J.D. Vance. He tried to make sure J.D. Vance didn't get picked. Now he's doing the same thing to your choice on Secretary of Defense. And if you don't believe me, I got a story here from the Federalist written by Sean Fleetwood. He's a fabulous reporter over there. If you're not following his stuff at the Federalist, do it. He's just that good. Now I'm going to pop this up here and we'll talk about some of this. Headline, Trump world. Joni Earnst is waging an aggressive personal jihad against Hegseth. I want to read a few paragraphs of this. Earnst repeatedly called Trump, threatening him to dump Hegseth. At the same time, surrogates had told Trump to tap Earnst instead. Uh-oh. What have we here? Well, let's go find out. And with that, Dateline. Senator Joni Earnst, Republican Iowa, has been leading, quote, an aggressive personal jihad against Pete Hegseth, Donald Trump's nominee for defense secretary. Multiple sources within Trump world with direct knowledge of her outreach to Trump told the Federalist on Wednesday. Earnst's efforts included personal calls to Trump to urge him to dump Hegseth ahead of her meeting with the Army veteran on Wednesday afternoon. Earnst did not tell Hegseth during the meeting about her efforts to derail the nomination. Quote, she's waging a personal campaign to replace Pete with herself, a Trump source familiar with the phone calls with Trump said. Earnst has posted a tweet on Twitter following her meeting with Hegseth on Wednesday. The Iowa senator said she appreciates Pete Hegseth's service to our country and that they had a frank and thorough conversation. She did not, however, say whether she will support his nomination to become Secretary of Defense. When pressed on Wednesday by The Hill's Alex Bolton on whether she's interested in becoming Trump's Secretary of Defense, Earnst didn't give a direct answer, instead saying Pete is the nominee, according to Punchbowl News reporter Andrew Desiderio. Within the past few days, Hegseth has come under a barrage of unsubstantiated, and that's the key word, unsubstantiated allegations of wrongdoing during his time working at Fox and spearheading veteran-related nonprofit organizations. A woman who had previously accused Hegseth of sexual assault following a purported 2017 sexual encounter between the two, police declined to press charges following the investigation into the matter. And reading a little bit further, let me find it here. Oh, here's the coup de grace. Earnst is not working alone in her efforts to tank Hegseth's nomination, however. Another source added that Republican Senator dispatched Lindsey Graham over the weekend to nag Trump to ditch Hegseth and replace him by nominating Earnst. Graham gave credence to the slanderous allegations against Hegseth on Tuesday, telling CBS that he finds the allegations very disturbing. Quote, I think some of the articles are very disturbing. He obviously has a chance to defend himself here, but some of this stuff is going to be difficult, Graham said. Some of the things have to be addressed, and we'll see. Okay, this is just pissing me off. It really is. I mean, look, this is classic establishment Republican, take a guy out 101, okay? This is it. You've got basically three options. I think it was Jack Posobiec said this brilliantly in one of his tweets. You can either Nixon a guy, Kennedy a guy, or Kavanaugh a guy. Well, right now they're trying to Kavanaugh the guy. All right? Mm-hmm. Unnamed sources, allegations, everything else, and they're just trying to take him out. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Uh-oh.
It is. It's Capitol Hill Mean Girls. It's Capitol Hill Mean Girls.
Yeah. Joni didn't get the choice from Donald Trump to become Secretary of Defense, and now she's throwing a hissy fit, and she's going to make sure that nobody else gets it except her. Well, I'm sorry. Suck it up, Buttercup. And again, to quote, thank you for a cabinet of his choosing. Donald Trump has the right to the cabinet of his choosing. If the American people think he's wrong, guess what? In 2 years, they get to bounce Republicans out of the Congress for it, to punish Trump. If they think he's still wrong, in 4 years, they get to bounce the Republican nominee out of the White House. Go ahead.
I read this morning, or maybe it was last night, but I think it was this morning, about how they said there's 6 Republicans down on a vote confirmation for Hegseth. 6 Republicans. Probably Graham, definitely Joni, probably some others. Mitch McConnell. I could probably name the other 3 if I Murkowski.
Probably Murkowski's colleague. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Collins, and there's probably, yeah. So you know what Donald Trump should do? F him. First of all, he should threaten Lindsey Graham behind the scenes. He can do that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And then he should go over, he should look at the voting records of the Democrats and the independents sitting in Congress. Whichever ones are more toward the center, he should call a meeting with them and explain to him his plan and try to win some of them over. I know I keep mentioning Fetterman, but Fetterman would be an excellent choice. Bernie Sanders would be an excellent choice because Bernie Sanders is definitely against the waste. There's 2, and I bet you can find 4 more if you set your minds to it. Put Vivek or Elon on it, on looking at somebody that works for them, at looking at their voting records, and call a meeting with 6 or 8 Democrats that are sensible, and let's win them over.
Yeah, and I'll do you one more better than that.
Wouldn't that just be the coup de grace to have to have Hegseth confirmed by 45 Republicans and 6 Democrats? Wouldn't that just be the coup de grace? That would be the final knife in the establishment's back.
Well, and I mean, I'll do you one better than that. And I mean, people are going to, the next statement I'm about to make, people are going to say, oh, you're trying to cause, strife in the Republican Party. No, the strife's already there. We need to eliminate it. And you eliminate it, primary these people. In the next 2 years, Lindsey Graham is up for re-election. Mitch McConnell is going to be up for re-election. John Cornyn out of Texas is up for re-election. Lisa Murkowski up in Alaska is up for re-election. Susan Collins up in Maine is up for re-election. Joni Earnst in Iowa is up. Primary them. Primary every last one of them. Now, does that mean you're going to beat them all? No. But by God, it's about time to make these people toe the line.
But you can throw some popular MAGA candidates in there. You can throw some popular MAGA candidates in there. Hell, they don't even have to necessarily be from the state. You could pick your person now and have them move to their state, establish residency, and then run. You could set it up just like that. Yeah,
and this needs to happen. I'm sorry. I mean, look, I've said it before and I'll say it again. The biggest problem Donald Trump's going to have is not Democrats. It's going to be Senate Republicans. I mean, Mike Johnson needs Donald Trump. He is not going to get a foul of him. Otherwise, Johnson's going to lose whatever tiny majority he's got in the House.
The House is well in control. But he's got to control the Senate.
Agreed. And
he
that's
has to
the
do
problem.
that by reaching across the aisle to sensible Democrats and sensible independents to bridge that gap.
There you go. And Chris from My Morning Mayhem has strolled into the
he goes to Fetterman and say,
yeah, no, I agree with you.
And just tell Fetterman, I can help you get reelected. I can help you get reelected if you support me. And I bet Fetterman would jump all over that.
Absolutely. And Chris from My Morning Mayhem has stopped by and says, what's up, homies? Was almost disappointed when I didn't see the fedora, but I think this is a fair substitute. Salute. What do we call it? A Santora? Well, there you go. That's a good name for it. I'm wearing a Santora this morning. But yeah, I mean, it's making me mad. I mean, look, if there are 6 Republican senators that don't want Hegseth, okay, fine. Let's take it to a vote. Let's take it to the Senate floor and let's take it to a vote. Let's get you on the record. Let's let your voters in your state
rubbing elbows with 8 Democrats. 8 Democrats that could take their place.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I would much rather have an honest enemy as I would a dishonest ally. I mean, would I want to necessarily see Democrats win these seats? Not necessarily. But again, I would much rather deal with an honest enemy that I know, okay, you're a Democrat, you're going to try and screw me probably, as I would deal with these Republicans that sit there and pat me on the back with one hand and stick me with a knife in the other. It's just enough of this. Enough of this.
If Biden doesn't pardon Schiff, maybe you go to Adam Schiff and say, buddy, you want a pardon from Donald Trump? Vote for my cabinet.
Yep. Absolutely.
And I laugh all the way to the bank to see that happen.
Yeah. So Joni was on
the deal maker.
And he's got enormous leverage in all
I
this.
bet you these conversations are already happening. I would be occurring.
I'd say you're probably right. And Trump's got enormous leverage. Remember, this man won every swing state. This man picked up states, in the case of Nevada, he'd never won before. He got within a hair of picking up states that Republicans haven't won in decades. Okay? And by the way, I was having a discussion with Robert. I was having a discussion with Robert Hur the other night talking about New Jersey. Guys, I know we're a long way away from the next presidential election, but I'm telling you right now, keep your eyes on New Jersey. I'm not saying it's going to happen in 2028, but it's not that far away that Jersey could become a battleground state. It's really not that far away, But Joni Earnst was on Fox News and giving her opinions about Monsieur Hegseth. So I thought I'd play for if
Mitch
we do have any.
Is gone. I mean, he's mentally gone.
Well, I wouldn't hurt my feelings if he was physically gone in 2 years. I'll tell you that much. But I just, for if we have any listeners in Iowa maybe you guys might want to take a listen to what your senator's doing to you out
Means
there.
pulling his
Remember,
chain.
Donald Trump won your state by 13 points, which leads me to believe y'all out in Iowa actually like what Donald Trump's doing. Well, just listen to your senator. Remember, she's up in 2 years. So with that, here we hear from Joni.
Okay, it doesn't sound on your answer that you've gotten to a yes. If I'm wrong about that, correct me. And if that is the case, it sounds to me as if the hearing will be critical for his nomination. Am I right about that?
I think you are right. I think for a number of our senators, they want to make sure that any allegations have been cleared. And that's why we have to have a very thorough vetting process. And that's why I was happy to sit down with Pete and have that conversation with him yesterday. So again, all I will say at this time is that we did have a very thorough discussion over a number of those issues. And the vetting will continue, I am certain, through the next month or so until we approach that hearing date.
And he has some.
The fact that this woman can sit there with a straight face and smile about it all is the part that I think makes me mad the most. I mean, I really do believe we have found the Liz Cheney of 2024 and 2026. Why do I have a feeling this woman is going to be the thorn, one of the thorns in Donald Trump's side until possibly she is primaried? So, I mean, and if I'm wrong, I'll come, you guys know me, I'll come back and apologize. But man, why am I just thinking to myself, yep, the Senate's answer for Liz Cheney right there. Just, and one more thought about why maybe that old Joni is supporting, trying to get herself in. Well, I'm just going to leave this right here and let it speak for itself.
When it comes out that Ukraine was the biggest money laundering scheme of our generation, I'm going to cry and laugh.
Yeah.
Simultaneously.
And then the American press is like, I can't believe that all this money laundering was going on. It's kind of like that line from Casablanca. I'm shocked that there's gambling in this establishment. Terrible, I say. Oh my God.
Round up the usual suspects.
Yes. Round up the usual suspects. I can't believe there's gambling going on in this club. Terrible, I say. Terrible. Money laundering in Ukraine? No, it can't possibly be true. No. We never heard about any of this. The American government is so corrupt. Well, you're supposed to be covering it, you assholes. Lord have mercy. All right, let me see what else have I got on this.
I saw somebody on MSNBC, because yes, I have been deigning to watch that occasionally here lately. Talk about Susan Collins. Evidently, she's the first openly lesbian senator. I didn't even know that, but I'm like, why does that matter? And I'm a lesbian. I don't care. I don't care if you're gay, straight, whatever. As long as you're a good senator, and she's not, so she needs to go.
I remember when Susan Collins was first elected to the U.S. Senate back in 1994. That's how long she's been there. So we're talking 30 years in her case. In Mitch McConnell's case, it'll be 40 years. And matter of fact, Grassley's running just about the same out of Iowa, the same length of time, which I got nothing against Grassley. Just the only thing about Grassley is, bless his heart, he's in his early 90s. But wonderful senator otherwise. I got no problem with him. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, just, yeah.
Term limits, at least on senators.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I absolutely agree with you. Absolutely agree. I had a clip here. Let me see if I can find it real fast. Give me a second. That I want to play, and then we'll leave off of this topic. And it was an appearance by Molly Hemingway of the Federalist on Fox News, and this one was pretty good if I can find it real fast. No, I'll leave that alone. That's on a totally different subject. Tell you what, we're going to take it to the hot. We're going to start serving up some HodgePodge stew. Oh yeah, here's a good one. Okay, she's come a long way from being the first woman senator who knew how to castrate a pig. Yeah, that's true. Very true. Chris from My Morning Mayhem says, but Democrats care. They know they want representation because that means something to them for some reason. True. Absolutely. TBA over on Rumble says, it befuddles me how anyone could think that the whole Ukraine fiasco wasn't about money laundering. Amen, brother. Amen indeed. So, amen indeed. All right, real quick commercial, and then we're going to start serving up some HodgePodge stew. This lady right over here is Tracy Barkley from Gen X Marks the Spot. This fellow in the Santora is Brian Trippett from the Front Porch Conservative. And if you would not mind, please give us a sub. Tracy's got a channel on YouTube. I've got a channel on YouTube and Rumble. We're both on Twitter. So if you would not mind, subscribe to our channels. Give us follows on Twitter. And we would appreciate that, along with some thumbs up, some comments in chat, some sharing of links, telling your friends, all that happy jazz. We would genuinely appreciate it because we's going little concerns. We's like to be going big concerns. So we can do that with your help. All right, HodgePodge stew. Now, for those of you who have never been here before, HodgePodge stew is that collection of stories that that are not quite, shall we say, above the electronic fold, but they are interesting or funny in some cases, or otherwise, pretty cool all the way around. Oh, and since it is almost 12:30, and I don't know if she is still here. Excuse me 1 second, Tracy. I have to the lady who is watching, thinking about you. So I know what you got to do today. Thinking about you. All right. All right. HodgePodge stew. Let us dive in. Now, at the very beginning of the live stream, I had a running joke. Well, not a running joke. I had a Trump impersonator describing the meeting between Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and President-elect Donald Trump. Well, I didn't get a chance to play this clip during the week, but it was just daggone funny. Peter Doocy of Fox News was doing some coverage down at Mar-a-Lago, and he had the following, and we've got something to follow this up, and I'm playing Doocy's little snippet here to set up what we've got next. So with that, here's kind of how the meeting went, according to reports between Trudeau and Trump.
And tonight we're getting some new details about that Trump-Trudeau dinner from two people who were at the table. We are told that when Trudeau told President-elect Trump that new tariffs would kill the Canadian economy, Trump joked to him that if Canada can't survive without ripping off the U.S. to the tune of $100 billion a year, then maybe Canada should become the 51st state and Trudeau could become its governor. Brett.
But more on that detail with the panel. Peter, thank you.
Now, you got to give Donald Trump a lot of credit. Number one, he's feeling his oats, as we say here in the South. And I'm sure Tracy's probably heard that expression at one time or another. He's feeling his oats. And he also realizes, I don't have anything left to lose. I have no more races myself that I must run for me. So I can pretty much be myself here. Now, with that said, right, we did get a statement from Donald Trump about his conversation with Trudeau. And you wouldn't think that this would have been available for public consumption, but the Porch Hounds, those intrepid reporters that tend to help us out here on the Electronic Front Porch, The Porch Hounds have an amazing way of getting their hands on stuff that you wouldn't otherwise think they could get their hands on. So with that, this clip runs about a minute and a half. It is a statement from Donald Trump describing his side of the conversation with Justin Trudeau. And I think you will be surprised, perhaps, at how, Trump is known for characteristic bluntness. I think this goes even beyond normal Trump bluntness. And with that, listen and enjoy.
People of Canada, the great white north, as they call it, except it's not so great anymore, is it? I call it the great sad north because that's what it is, sad. On January 20th, I will be slapping huge tariffs on all products coming from your country. The economic consequences will be devastating, but they don't have to be. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was just with me at Mar-a-Lago, and I suggested that I would make Canada the 51st state. It's called Manifest Destiny, and it's happening whether you hosers like it or not. You should have never let us get Alaska. That was your first mistake. Makes no sense that you have to drive through Canada to get to America. Not any longer. There are a lot of great benefits to joining America. We have a great military, the greatest in the world. You'll be able to move from those awful cold shitholes you live in to warm shitholes. Quebec will no longer be a thing. You don't like it, you can all move to France. All Tim Hortons will now become Dunkin' Donuts. Curling will be banned. It's a ridiculous sport, if you can even call it that. As for your precious ice hockey, this will be the hardest part to deal with. But who said there wouldn't be growing pains? The American and Canadian national teams will merge. Say goodbye to your silly little Leaf. Say hello to Stars and Stripes and Bald Eagles. Also for all those celebrities that moved to Canada because I one sucks to be you.
If you like that, make sure to.
Okay, as you can tell, quite obviously, a little bit of a parody here. But thanks again to Danny Polachek for a really, really fun. I agree with you, TBA. They need to work on the AI or the CGI, and it's not as good as Dank Brandon. I'll give you that. But, well,
yeah, I like curling. I agree with Gypsy. I really enjoy it. I really like it.
Okay, look, we got some stuff to work. We got some stuff to work out here, obviously, when we make Canada the 51st state. But you know what? I mean, I'm sure we can find a way to, adapt and overcome. So, you
Canadian hockey in college. I love hockey.
For you Canadians up there, just understand when we make it the 51st state, we got some things to work on. But there you go. Chris from My Morning Man was glad you clarified that it was a parody. YouTube acts funny about that stuff. Yeah, boy, don't they act funny about it. But yeah, it's a parody. It's from Danny Polachek, which, by the way, if you really want to follow somebody funny on Twitter, Danny Polachek is an absolute hoot. So I recommend him to you. All right. What else do we have in the way of, oh, yes. This meme sets up something of a serious discussion, okay? And the meme is from the legendary Jeff Foxworthy. And Tracy, if anybody's going to appreciate this, I'm sure you will. Everybody in this audience probably has heard his legendary, if this, and this, then you might be a redneck. Well, somebody very wisely adapted that to discuss our next story, and that is, if you need a preemptive pardon, you might be a criminal. Okay? Now, I show you this meme, and by the way, still just as funny as he ever was. Jeff Foxworthy is amazing. But I show you this meme to kind of lay out the beginnings of a discussion. A story broke through Politico last week, around about 3 days ago. So this would have been, a Wednesday. And to me, and Tracy, we discussed this briefly on your channel. If this happens, and I'm really praying to God it doesn't, then frankly, we need to start having a very serious discussion about constitutional amendments, about how you deal with the question of the power of pardon. And for those who don't know what I'm referring to, Here's the article from Politico, and I'll go ahead and drop this in chat on both sides if you want to take a look at it for your purposes. But Jonathan Martin, who's probably one of the best reporters they've got over there, cracked a story that the White House is looking at, quote, preemptive pardons for those in Trump's crosshairs. That's the headline. The nomination of Kash Patel, who has vowed to pursue Trump's critics, as FBI director, has heightened concerns within the president's inner circle. And again, this is by Jonathan Martin. President Biden's senior aides are conducting a vigorous internal debate over whether to issue preemptive pardons to a range of current and former public officials who could be targeted with President-elect Donald Trump's return to the White House, according to senior Democrats familiar with the discussions. Biden's aides are deeply concerned about a range of current and former officials who could find themselves facing inquiries and even indictments, a sense of alarm which has only accelerated since Trump last weekend announced the appointment of Kash Patel to lead the FBI. Patel has publicly vowed to pursue Trump's critics. White House officials, however, are carefully weighing the extraordinary step of handing out blanket pardons to those who committed no crime, both because it would suggest impropriety, only fueling Trump's criticisms, and because those offered preemptive pardons may reject them. The deliberations touch on pardoning those currently in office, elected and appointed, as well as former officials who have angered Trump and their loyalists. Okay, let's get into this. For those of you who maybe are not or don't know this particular section of the Constitution, Article 2, Clause 2 says the following. The President shall be Commander-in-Chief of the Army and the Navy and of the militia of several states and called into service of the United States. He may require an opinion in writing of the principal officer of each executive department upon any subject relating to the duties of their respective offices. And here's the important part. He shall have the power to grant reprieves and pardons for offenses against the United States, except in the case of impeachment. Now, this live stream, and a lot of my live streams, ranges somewhere between the serious and the silly and anywhere in between. This is one of those subjects that, to me, that is deadly serious for a lot of reasons. I pray to God, and this is not for partisan reasons. I genuinely pray to God for constitutional reasons. The Biden White House does not do this preemptive pardon idea. I mean, look.
It's going to set up a precedent, and it's going to require some kind of constitutional convention because we're going to have to fix it. I mean, if forward pardoning Nixon wasn't controversial, then it was controversial enough. This is blowing all that out of the water. This is covering your crimes before they come to light. You shouldn't be able to issue a pardon until you're actually charged with or convicted of a crime. That's just the bottom line.
Exactly. To me, this to me is going to encourage individuals inside of an administration. If Biden goes forward with this, this is going to encourage future cabinet members, future members of the government to engage in behavior that, at a minimum, is ethically questionable or just out and out criminal, knowing that on the back end, before the boss leaves office, you're going to get a pardon. Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to loot. They're going to loot the hen house. I mean, the foxes are already in the hen house, but you're going to let more of them in if you do this.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, they're at let's say, I mean, look, there's a lot of things you can say. Let's just take an example. Anthony Fauci. Okay. Were there things that Anthony Fauci did that were extraordinarily questionable? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Take it all the way back to the AIDS epidemic. As a gay person, I'm still pissed as hell about what happened during the AIDS epidemic. Yeah, he's a questionable, evil piece of crap.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, did he do things that were possibly criminal? Yeah. Has he ever been convicted in a court of law and found guilty?
No.
No. And to me, Tracy, I'm just like you. If they do this, number one, you're going to encourage bad behavior from future administrations. And number two, you're going to dilute the power of pardon. The power of pardon should only be used if someone has been found guilty of something, or and this is just my take, if such time has gone by, okay, that frankly, pardoning this person doesn't really change in one sense what happened, but they can go to the grave clean. Okay. An extraordinary circumstance in a case like that. Okay. I mean, I just don't like where this is going, and this is a bad idea. You know,
it's going to require a constitutional convention to fix.
Yeah, because
you can't legislate this. After I thought about it, after I even said that, this cannot be legislated. This is this is going to require 2/3 of the states to ratify it, or all 50 states to ratify this.
Yeah, because the power of pardon is absolute. The president can pardon whomever he wishes. Okay, and I want to go back to something that Lana said a minute ago. Let me find her comment real quick. Oh, where is it? Was it Lana or was it somebody else who mentioned Hunter Biden in particular? Let me find it. Oh gosh, where is it? Here it is. It wasn't the Joe pardon Hunter. It was the broad blanket pardon spanning 11 years. Yeah. If Joe had simply limited that pardon of Hunter to the gun and the tax charges, then okay. You might not like it, but you'd understand it. When Joe Biden pardoned him all the way back to January 1st, 2014, it was to me, it was quite obvious. This pardon isn't about Hunter. It's about Papa Joe. He's trying to cover his tracks. You know, that's what's got everybody so upset about this. And when I say everybody, it's not just confined to people on the right. I mean, you got lefties out there who look at this going, this is some horseshit. This is just absolutely ridiculous. So, yeah. And again, if you haven't listened to Chris Ann Hall from Quite Frankly, she makes a beautiful and brilliant case against constitutional convention. So, well, okay, fair enough. All right. Jot that name down for future purposes. Yeah, I'd be interested. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Tracy. If he does this, there is no fixing this by legislation. There isn't. You've got to amend the Constitution, because there's just, if the power is absolute, which frankly most people believe it to be, then if you're going to try to limit the power of the president, then fine, it's got to go to the people. It's got to go to their state legislatures to decide the question. So seriously, I pray God they do not do this. This is just a bad idea. Bad idea. So, all right. What else do we have in the way of hodgepodge stew? Speaking of people who need a pardon, or have pardoned themselves, or pardoned other people, Barack Hussein Obama has popped back up from whatever hole he slithered down into. Did you guys catch his comments about, what Republicans mean going forward and how it is they win and all that kind of good stuff? Did you hear this by chance?
I saw a blurb about it, but I didn't watch the whole thing. I just kind of scrolled on. I'm like, I really don't care what Barack Hussein Obama has to say anymore.
Well, ain't you glad you stopped by our front porch this morning? Because we just happen to have the clip. Now, folks, I don't try to raise anybody's blood pressure too much, but on occasion, I have been known to rile people up with something that I do or say or show on my live stream. And if your doctor's trying to help you get your blood pressure under control, you might want to put this on silent for the next 60 seconds. And with that, we have the former president saying the following.
There are going to be times potentially when one side tries to stack the deck and lock in a permanent grip on power, either by actively suppressing votes or politicizing the armed forces or using the judiciary, the criminal justice system to go after opponents. And in those circumstances, pluralism does not call for us to just stand back and say, well, I'm not sure. That's okay. In those circumstances, a line has been crossed and we have to stand firm.
So apparently Republicans are going to win by, stacking the judiciary and stacking the votes and using the military and all that. Funny, I don't remember Republicans doing that sort of thing. I do remember Democrats doing that sort of thing in various states around the country over the years. So, Zippy with a rumble rant. Thank you very much, sir. The left lacks awareness and projects all of their BS onto others. Oh boy, ain't that the truth, baby. Ain't that the truth? I mean, Mr. President, with all due respect, what do you think your party's been doing for the past 4, 8, 12, 16, 20 years or longer? I mean, seriously, you come from Chicago. Talk about stacking the deck politically. Mm-hmm. You guys in the Windy City make that an absolute art form, the stuff you do to maintain power politically up there. Although I will say this, I'm not saying it's going to be anytime soon, but there's some rumblings coming out of Chicago that every time I see a city council meeting, I keep thinking to myself, are you guys right on the edge of doing something that I haven't seen happen in my lifetime? I mean, you were talking about the Tiffany Henyard story on your channel the other night, and it's just, there's some stuff going on, man. Chicago's getting real interesting. We're starting to anyway.
Especially on the south side.
Yeah.
Where they're just where they're filing all the migrants. They're just fed up with it.
Oh yeah. It's something to watch. And like I say, I don't think it's going to be anytime soon, but Boss Henyard is out of one of her jobs up there. Thank God. And, we'll see what happens as time goes by, but yeah, it's going to be something interesting to watch. So, but yeah, it's all about Republicans stacking the deck in their favor, folks. And don't you know, you dirty Republicans out there, you're the ones doing it. It's all your fault.
You never see one party, like Republican controlled cities, what few of them there are, they are never have the kind of problems that one party Democratic states and cities have.
Yeah.
I can name Memphis, Birmingham, New York, Chicago, San Francisco, LA. I could name a ton more. They are crappy because they have one party control that is nothing but rife with corruption, rife with overspending, rife with letting criminals get away with it. I'll throw Baltimore in there too.
Yep,
they're
absolutely
all like that. Every single one of them. It doesn't matter if they're in a Republican-controlled state or not. It's still crappy. I don't think I can name a Republican-controlled city. Even in a red state, I don't think there's any completely controlled Republican-controlled cities. Lots of completely Republican-controlled small towns, but not major cities.
It's funny you say that because I saw something this morning, and I don't know if you've seen this yet or not. And of all places, it's in California. But I'll pop this up here. They recently had their city council election out there. And guess what happened in, of all places, Huntington Beach, California? The entire city council went MAGA.
Nice.
Now we'll see what happens. Now, granted, this is California.
Are they Republicans or are they just independents?
That's my understanding of it. Yeah. It looks like they are. Yeah. If I'm Yeah, this is an article by Joe Hoft from the Gateway Pundit, but yeah, it looks like let me pop this up here real fast. Hang on a minute. Since I took us down this rabbit hole, we may as well go all the way. But according to from what I'm reading, then it looks like they've got complete control. Yeah, here's the story. Hang on. Let me see if I can enlarge this just a hair for it, make it easier for everybody to read. This is from Joe Hoft. The great city in California has gone all MAGA board and officer positions. Clean sweep, a 7-0 city council was sworn in on Tuesday. Yeah, they've got complete control of Huntington Beach, California.
Nice. So now we'll see maybe a major city that is Republican controlled. We'll see how it stacks up to the Democratic controlled cities.
Yeah, I mean, so we'll see, but I mean, but I'm like you. Most cities in this country are run by Democrats, and it's not going to change much anytime soon. But I tell you what, if New York City or Chicago or any of these major metropolitan areas, not even necessarily get Republican, okay, I'm just talking about more conservative governance that respects the individual rights of the property owner.
Something back toward the center. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. At least moving back toward the center. Because right now they're just absolutely falling apart.
Even the ones in red states, Memphis is
it. Oh yeah.
The only major city in Tennessee that is Republican controlled is Chattanooga, and it's a nice little medium-sized city. It's a great little place. But Knoxville is controlled by Democrats, Nashville is controlled by Democrats, and Memphis is controlled by Democrats, and they are quickly becoming both uninhabitable because of crime and the rising costs of living there. And you have all the people that want to get out of there fleeing out to our little small towns that are Republican controlled to get away from it. That should tell them something.
Yep. And it breaks my heart about Memphis because there's a lot of, I've never been to Memphis, but there's a lot of reasons why I'd love to go. The blues music, the food, the history. This is the city that invented rock and roll. I would give a lot to take a tour of Sun Records. That to me would be a thrill. I ain't gonna lie.
Down the street alone at night.
Oh God, no, absolutely not.
Record shootings every single year. It's like in the top 10 most dangerous cities in the country every year.
That's a crying shame. That's just a crying shame. It really is. Well, did you happen to see, switching topics ever so slightly, did you happen to see the exchange between Representative Pat Phelan, I believe from Texas, and the director of the Secret Service this week on Capitol Hill?
No, I didn't.
Ooh, this got spicy. Spicy to the point I thought they're just going to get into a fist fight.
Nice.
For those of you who didn't see it, Pat Phelan of Texas took the FBI director, basically took him out back of the woodshed and verbally beat the crap out of him. Verbally speaking, that is. The director of the Secret Service right now is a gentleman named Ronald Rowe, and he's got the position because the director resigned after what happened at Butler. But there was a follow-up hearing, and this did not go well for Director Rowe and for Pat Phelan. If he was trying to get his frustrations out, he did a fantastic job.
Brian, I normally ignore these kinds of stories because it always ends up turning out to be Marjorie Taylor Greene, who I love some of her ideas, but she's like me. She's a little bit of white trash. And that ghetto trash from Texas. I think it's Austin. The one that always gets into flip it screaming matches. So I tend to ignore them because I think they're both disgraces in a lot of ways.
Well, this one, I don't know if you call Pat Phelan ghetto or not, but this will be real interesting for you. So, he did step down. He did step down. Oh, okay.
Nice. So
I did not realize that. Thank you, Gypsy, very much. I appreciate that. Well, I'll tell you what. Here's the exchange that led to the demise of Director Rowe. Check it out.
Special agent in charge of the detail. Were you the special agent in charge of the detail that day? Actually, let me address this. Could you please, staff, leave that? Oh, no, leave that one up with the circle around me. Thank you. So actually, Congressman, what you're not seeing is the sack of the detail out of the picture's view. And that is the day where we remember the more than 3,000 people that have died on 9/11. I actually responded to Ground Zero. I was there going through the ashes of the World Trade Center. I was there at Fresh Kills.
I'm not asking you that. I'm asking you,
Congressman.
were you the special agent in charge?
To show respect
You were not.
for a Secret Service member that died on 9/11.
That you're trying to be.
Do not invoke 9/11 for political purposes.
I'm not. I'm invoking this.
You are, sir.
Gentlemen,
and you are out of line.
I would like to ask him a question, please.
You are out of line, Congressman.
Don't try to bully me. I am an elected member of Congress, and I'm asking you a serious question, and you are playing politics.
I am a public servant who has served this nation, and
you won't answer the question.
On our country's darkest day.
Committee will come to order. Committee will come to order. I'm asking you serious questions for the American people, and they're very simple. They're not trick questions. Were you the special agent in charge that day?
No, I wasn't. I was there representing the United States Secret Service, sir.
Mr. Fallon, your time's
did
expired.
not affect protective operations.
You know why you were there? Because you wanted to be visible, because you were auditioning for this job.
I was there to pay respect for a fallen member of this agency.
You endangered
You are
President
out of line,
Biden's life,
Congressman.
Vice President
You are out of
Harris's
line.
life, because you put those agents out of position.
Mr.
Did you have a
Chairman.
radio with you?
Mr. Fallon,
Did
your
you wear a
time
vest?
has
Did you have a
expired.
weapon?
Mr.
I did, sir, and you are out of line.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh yeah, this was spicy. Yeah. And again, I did not see the whole context of this thing, but to me it's like, okay, were you the agent in charge? If you're the agent in charge, then why are you doing certain things that you're doing? I don't know. Just okay, if it led to getting rid of that.
It was pretty crappy that the FBI row tried to invoke 9/11 as some kind of cloak and dagger defense, and that kind of pissed me off. I'm like, okay, I admire that you were there sifting through the rubble at 9/11. That proves you're a great patriotic American, but what's at hand is your performance on the particular day in question, not your performance in 2001. Seriously, I thought that was pretty blatantly cloak and dagger.
I agree with you. Yeah, so apparently he's out, and I have not an ounce of problem with that. And I'm still crossing my fingers in the hopes that Dan Bongino becomes the next director of the Secret Service.
I don't even know who's running the country at this point. Biden has been on a permanent vacation. I mean, they're trotting him out to some international meetings and letting him pardon everybody down to Mickey Mouse. But there's no one else running the country. Kamala, every time you see her, she looks like she's drunk, and she's begging for money to pay back the to pay back the DNC for that money she blew during her campaign. Who's running the country?
That's a great question. That's a genuinely good question, because nobody knows right now. It's absolutely absurd. Absolutely absurd. So, yeah.
Is 40. I know it's not in the Constitution, but is there something we can do to get them both out of office and just let Trump and Vance take over now? That would be the best thing.
Not that I'm aware of. Because, I mean, here's the thing. If both of them were removed, Biden and Kamala, well, that means Mike Johnson becomes Speaker of the House until such time as the 20th of January.
He becomes president.
Yeah, he becomes president.
I'd be okay with that. President. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Mike Johnson, but he would take his orders from Trump while he was in there. So
true, absolutely. Well, on another subject in HodgePodge stew, apparently there is a lot of catfighting at MSNBC right now. Now, as y'all know, MSNBC's ratings are absolutely in the toilet.
I heard Joe, Morning Joe no longer has Joe. He's just fled.
Oh, well, now that I wasn't aware of.
Kind of left it with Mika. At least he's been MIA for a couple of days, and so there's no Joe on Morning Joe, which I think is absolutely hilarious. So
Yeah. Let me read this real quick on Rumble. TBA says, "Who's running the country? If you believe in devolution and continuity of government, it's the military that's running the country." Well, brother, you may be right. Maybe indeed. But yeah, there's a lot of cat fighting going on inside MSNBC right now. The ratings are in the toilet. All the predictions they made about Kamala winning never had materialized. A lot of MSNBC viewers are like, I'm getting really disillusioned with this
they
bunch.
only had 20,000 viewers one night last week. 20,000. I could name 100 YouTubers that get more than that on their streams.
Oh, a good episode. A good episode of Friday Night Tights will get you that if they've got a really good guest. I mean, this is just ridiculous.
Tim Cass gets over 100,000 viewers.
Yeah.
Benny Johnson, easily.
Benny Johnson, Patrick Bet-David, Rogan.
Again.
Yeah. And
I also heard that they cut Rachel Maddow's salary by $5 million a year. Poor baby her. She's only going to be getting $25 million a year. And so that everything's kind of plus I saw a lot of the lefty YouTubers like David Patman and Sam Cedar, all of them, Kyle Kalinske, all complaining that they've lost subscribers, they've lost channel members, and they've lost members on their website since the election. So the whole lefty propaganda machine is imploding right now, and it's beautiful. You both behave yourself, because your lady is out there. My lady watches sometimes.
Exactly.
Both of you behave yourselves.
I'm being a good boy this morning. I'll just have you know. Thank you very much. Zippy over on Rumble with another Rumble rant. Thank you very much. Bureaucrats run the government. What is a bureaucracy, folks? A process that makes rules no matter how absurd to enforce rules no matter how absurd. Very, very true. And Jardam, our good friend from across the pond, says, at least you don't have the BBC funded to the tune of $3.1 billion a year. Well, we do have public television, tragically enough. But where the BBC is concerned, brother, yeah, I feel you over there, because y'all are just, you British taxpayers, y'all get ripped off royally, and they can't even make a good episode of Doctor Who anymore.
I used to watch the BBC News for a middle-of-the-road neutral approach back when. Not anymore. It's all Labor Party and American Democratic propaganda, in my opinion.
Yeah. TBA over on Rumble says the whole point of us seeing the MSNBC disintegrate is to allow people to move to other news-type outlets. All of our news outlets are subsidized by big pharma companies. You are not wrong on either count, my friend. You are not wrong on either count. Here's a lady that's absolutely hammering against bureaucracy, particularly in her neck of the woods. By the way, follow this woman on YouTube and on Twitter. I mean, this woman is an absolute warrior when it comes to individual freedom and liberty. Follow Forest Mommy, Jessica Fenske. She's awesome. Totally awesome.
She's out there fighting the good fight in local government in a very blue state.
Absolutely.
So very grassroots.
Absolutely. Now, that gets us to part of what's going on over at MSNBC actually stems from something that happened about 2 weeks ago. Mika Brzezinski and Joe Scarborough, who host Morning Joe on MSNBC, either of their own volition or due to somebody higher up at MSNBC telling them, you need to go visit Trump, they took themselves down to Mar-a-Lago and had a visit with the president. Now, Trump, to his credit, realized that, you're coming down here to kiss my ring or my rear end, depending on how you look at it. And he knew it. And he even said so in one of his very famous Truth Social posts. Well, when news got out inside MSNBC that Joe and Mika had at least tried to offer the olive branch for whatever reason, maybe they wanted to, maybe they were forced to, this did not make their colleagues at MSNBC happy at all. And according to some scuttlebutt, and again, take it for what it's worth, because this is exactly what it is, A source at MSNBC reveals that chaos erupted yesterday morning when an enraged Rachel Maddow stormed after Mika Brzezinski backstage, igniting a fiery confrontation that left onlookers stunned. Witnesses say that Maddow was visibly seething and red-faced, cornered Brzezinski in a hallway and unleashed a tirade, branding her a, quote, sanctimonious fraud and an authoritarian enabler over her meetings with President Trump at Mar-a-Lago. The two women had not spoken for over a week. According to a witness, the altercation left Brzezinski visibly shaking and in tears. A producer stepped in to separate the pair, physically guiding Maddow away from the scene. Holy cow! This is just... I mean, you mentioned people needing mental help. Add Matt out of the list. Apparently, she's in need of some.
I would have whipped it. I would have whipped out the popcorn and sold tickets to that, and probably tried to get it on film.
I'd have pulled up a chair. I've been right there with you, sister. Be like, hey, can you two? Can y'all wait just a minute? We got to get some popcorn and chairs and some soda pop, and then we'll tell y'all. We'll ring the bell and y'all can go at it. Okay.
And a big pool of Jello.
You dirty-minded old broad. That's why I love you, baby.
I'm such a feminist misogynist. It's so terrible.
Oh, honey, we all want footage of this. We want some serious footage. Okay. If we get our hands on footage, we're going to be able to retire because we're going to sell this shit. Believe me. Oh, Lord.
At least Maddow has principles. I mean, at least she believes the crazy. I mean, I will give her that. At least she's consistent. I mean, Mika and Joe, I mean, they used to kiss Trump's ass way back in the day. There was scuttlebutt about Scarborough even being Trump's VP pick. And then when he didn't get it, just like our good friend from Iowa, got his panties all in a bunch and started knifing Trump as a result. And now he sees that Trump's back. He wants another piece of the pie. He's kissing the ring again, as you said. So they're not very principled. They don't have belief. So I understand why Rachel Maddow probably went after her, because to somebody that does remain consistent, this person's a hypocrite. And I get that. I understand the principle, though I don't agree with Maddow's beliefs, if that makes any sense at all, what I'm trying to say.
Well, by the way, Tracy, you're calling for a gigantic swimming pool full of Jello. TBA says, well, can we forget the Jello and just dump them both in oil and then let them go at it?
I'm okay with oil, mud, marinara sauce, whatever you got. Whatever you got.
Woo!
Just hose them down. Just hose them down with water and let them go.
Mercy, I'm going to get a case of the vapors. Well, it's not just shit. It's not just confined to Rachel Maddow, apparently. I've got a story here from the New York Post and this is a little while back, but it kind of goes to the point. They are in collective meltdown over there at Rockefeller Center or wherever MSNBC is housed out of. This is from the New York Post. MSNBC contributor trashes network, shreds Morning Joe colleagues over Trump meeting. Quote, this is not working. An article by Joseph Wolfson. We've got the following. MSNBC contributor Jennifer Rubin went on an unprecedented tear against her own network as well as Morning Joe colleagues Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski on her podcast, defiantly criticizing her employer's business model and ratcheting up her attacks toward the duo for revealing their meeting with Donald Trump. On Friday's installment of Jen Rubin's Green Room, Rubin accused Scarborough and Brzezinski of forgetting that their audience, quote, despises Trump, and their viewers wanted them to hold the line against Trump instead of engaging with the incoming president. Quote, what were they thinking? Who do they think their audience was? Rubin asked. Well, perhaps this wasn't about their audience. Perhaps this was about them trying to defend themselves or avoid retribution that they thought was coming their way. But really, these are rich, famous people. What have they got to worry about? It was just an appalling example of how eager so many elites are to fall in line, curry favor, deflect attention, or deflect any kind of incoming criticism that might come their way from the White House.
I agree that that's what they're doing. And she looks exactly like I imagine her to look.
Oh,
I've
you
never
mean
heard of this person, but she looks exactly how you'd imagine. Just crazy, single, 50-ish cat lady.
Yeah, I mean, if I remember correctly, Jennifer Rubin writes for the Washington Post, among other places. But yeah, we've got a little bit more of this quote, and then we'll just take it back. Quote, so they are getting hammered for it. They're hemorrhaging their audience. And this, of course, only exacerbates the reason and the problem why MSNBC and its other cable networks are being spun off. And that is cable television is dying. Well, Rubin's right about that. Most of you probably haven't watched MSNBC since the election either, and notwithstanding your audience and continue to serve up the same chewed over talking points with the same panels, essentially the same program day after day after day, hour after hour is no longer working. So Comcast has said, fine, we spin you off. You guys go fend for yourselves. And the question after the spinoff is completed will be whether they are a viable business model. Can they afford to pay Rachel Maddow, God bless her, $20+ million a year? Is there advertising to support that? Are there cable fees to support that? We don't know. We don't know if MSNBC a year from now is going to exist or whether it's going to be in some slimmed down fashion. Okay, I agree with some of what Rubin is saying here for what it's worth. I don't think MSNBC as currently constituted can survive. When you're getting that little viewership, advertisers are going to be like, screw this, we're out of here because you guys, we're not getting any return on the money we're paying. When you got one contributor who's getting paid $20+ million a year, or let's just say they even knocked it down to 15, if reports are true, still, you got one reporter who works 1 day a week.
And she only works 1 or 2 nights a week.
Yeah. Yeah. It's absurd. It is absolutely absurd. You know, I mean, just absolutely not.
Well, what's going to happen? What needs to happen? They either need to change their format. They're going to have to become a podcast network like Louder with Crowder, like the Daily Wire, like Fox News. That's essentially what Fox News is. They still have their 24-hour news cycle, but most of their hosts operate like a podcast format. You know, there's a few shows that happen in studio like Gutfeld and The Five, but other than that, they all do their own thing and they just broadcast it on Fox. That's what's going to happen, or they just need to dissolve, sell off the studio and the equipment for whatever they can get. Though I think they might operate out of NBC studios, so that's probably a moot issue. But still, they're not going anywhere.
And I'm sorry, if this comes down to them going to some kind of a podcast format, then they're done. I mean, they're just done. I would also argue part of the reason that their viewership is down is a couple things. Number one, the election's over, which I think this is true of any network. I mean, there's a little bit of a dip, but not like MSNBC, which to me goes to the second reason they're losing viewers. You have people who either are fed up with being lied to, or they're waking up realizing they have been lied to. Now, I'm not saying everybody who watches MSNBC is going to become some kind of a conservative or libertarian or whatever tomorrow. That's not the point. But how many people, and you know them, Carrie Smith, Sasha Stone, other people on the left who for years bought off on all these lies, and then slowly over time they began to realize this stuff isn't true. How long before MSNBC, I mean, they've been hanging on to that hate Trump, hate the right, hate MAGA audience now for years, and hate only gets you so far. It does. It will only get you so far. Doesn't matter if it's in broadcasting or anything else. And I really think that, I'm not saying it's dead, but yeah, go ahead.
CNN's having the same kind of problems on a smaller scale, but they're dropping viewership right and left, and they are the other most left wing. I mean, NBC is just pure propaganda. CNN is propaganda with a little bit of news. You know, they're about like this. Here's MSNBC. Here's CNN. They're having the same problems. The only thing that is saving CBS, ABC, and NBC is their other core programming. They're not 100% 24-hour news. They have their, you know, nightly news, which still has a little modicum of respect there from the Walter Cronkite and Dan Rather days, but for the Tom Brokaw days, but from the most part, it's their other programming that will save them. Their news might dip, but as long as people are watching their television, their fictional shows, they'll be fine. But CNN and MSNBC does not have that safety net. And they're both going to crash. They're both going to crash.
Yeah. Sooner or later, Comcast is going to sell off MSNBC as it is. Or, and with regard to CNN, it's going to be Time Discovery Warner, which is the parent company for CNN. They're going to sell them off or make some drastic changes to it. Absolutely drastic. And we'll see what happens.
Still alive?
He is, but in very, very ill health. He is
He's got to look at what he created and just, what did they do to it? He's...
that has been reported on many occasions that he seriously regrets what this
Selling
has
Turner
become.
Broadcasting.
Yeah.
Because he had CNN, he had Sports South, he had TNT, he had Turner Classic Movies, and the TBS Superstation, which actually still does pretty well. He had those 5. Plus, he owned the Hawks and the Braves.
The Braves, yeah.
Yeah. He sold it all except for maybe the Hawks and the Braves. And look what they've done to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure when he watches Turner Classic Movies and see them put a disclaimer on why I don't want the win is a racist movie, that probably makes him go, oh my God, what did I do?
Yeah, good point. TBA says, "What makes you think Ted Turner didn't create Turner Broadcasting in order to be an arm of the deep state?" Well, that's good. It's good possibility. Good possibility. But yeah, Turner's got to be looking at it going.
I mean, it's possible. You could say that about anybody.
Yeah.
But Turner's a good old Southern boy. I just don't believe that. I believe he did it to make money.
Yeah.
Just like any other capitalist. And then
Time
Warner offered him a huge buyout and he took it.
And I've read more than one report over the years where even though he's not as communicative as he once was, is in the times that he did communicate about what he watched CNN turn into, he really regretted seeing the direction that it went. He really did. And it's a shame. It really is. All right. A couple more subjects, and then we're going to bring the train into the station. Remember the other night you and I were talking about the possibility of the populist left and the populist right getting together and working on stuff? Remember that? I got a really it's funny you're on here this afternoon. I got a really good example. And matter of fact, I'm going to drop this in chat on Rumble and YouTube. And Tracy, if you want, I'll just send it to you. I'll just DM it to you, but I'm going to drop it to everybody here in a minute. Here's a really good example of maybe we might find some common ground. Bernie Sanders, that lovable old communist from up in Vermont, my favorite curmudgeon communist, is maybe the best way to describe him, was asked his thoughts recently about Robert Kennedy. And this is a piece from CBS News. I thought you guys might find this interesting. I mean, I'm not going to play the whole thing, but check this out.
I think what he is saying about the food industry is exactly correct.
Well, Senator Sanders, as chair of the HELP committee, has really sounded the alarm on ultra-processed foods and the food and beverage industry, drawing comparisons to the fight against big tobacco decades ago. Interestingly enough, RFK Jr. has also talked a lot about food policy, additives, taking on the food industry. That's something part of his platform. It's taken off online with the Make America Healthy Again movement. So I asked Senator Sanders if that's an area where he could potentially work with the Trump administration if RFK Jr. is confirmed.
I think you have a food industry concerned about their profits, could care less about the health of the American people. I think they have to be taken on. I think, on the other hand, when Mr. Kennedy talks about taking fluoride out of our water system, I think what the scientific community will tell you that would be a disaster in terms of dental health in this country. His views on vaccine are in very wrong in so many ways. So we will see how the process unfolds. So I think what he's saying about the food industry makes sense to me. A lot of other things that he's saying are extremely dangerous.
So I tried to press Senator Sanders on if he's made up his mind about President-elect Trump's health picks, how he's preparing for the confirmation process ahead.
We are preparing. I mean, we're going to be prepared to ask the right questions. And it's not only the confirmation hearings, it will be discussions that we have behind closed doors as well.
At this point, have you made up your mind, or you're going to go through the process? Any other health related, as the chair? Are there any other health related picks, agency picks that you're concerned about?
Well, I think I know Kennedy somewhat over the years. I do not know his other picks, so I'm going to have to sit down and talk with him. The other thing I think that's important is Trump over the years, and Kennedy himself, has talked about as a health problem the fact that we pay by far the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. And if I'm not mistaken, Kennedy has talked about the need for Americans not to pay more than the people in other countries. I think that's exactly right. And I hope Trump keeps his word in terms of going forward in something that he has talked about for years, substantially lowering the cost of prescription drugs in this country.
Okay. We will see. I mean, look, Bernie's leaving the door open here, and I'm like, okay, all right, let's see what happens. I mean, Tracy, you talked about
conversations were happening behind closed doors.
Oh, absolutely. And Bernie's sitting down with RFK Jr. like, hey, tell me about these other guys. I know you, but what's going on? I mean, are these guys on the level? Are they on the up and up? And
I'd like to know where he doesn't agree with Kennedy on vaccines. I mean, all I've ever heard Kennedy say is that there's 64 shots now that a child needs by age 4 or 5. He says that seems a little excessive based on what we all grew up with, and a lot of these vaccines have not been tested to the gold standard that the old MMR and measles.
Yeah.
He said none of that has been polio. None of that has been tested to the gold standard. That's all he wants to do is to,
and that's
make them gold standard and find out, do we actually need that stuff?
And that's why I'm looking forward, if they haven't done it already, for Bobby Kennedy Jr. and Bernie to sit down together and go, look, here's where I'm at on vaccines. Maybe he convinces Bernie of his position. Maybe he doesn't. But Bernie can come away and go, look, I may not agree with him, but here's where he's at. And I'm thinking, all right, the populist left and the populist right are talking to each other. Are they going to agree on everything? No. Are they going to agree in principle on what they need to work on? Absolutely. Will they take the best parts of each other to get to a reasonable answer? Yes. So we've got a chance here. I mean, I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but we've got a chance here to maybe do some really stuff.
When he talked about cigarette companies. Talking about cigarette companies, the whole issue with cigarettes and mostly cigarettes, it wasn't the tobacco. It was all the other crap they used as filler in there to cut down on the amount of tobacco that they used, the formaldehyde, the other chemicals that made people sick and gave people lung cancer. And they absolutely need to be demonized for lying to the American public like that.
Yeah.
But instead of destroying the tobacco industry, if they had just required, or these companies had taken up a little bit of morality and just said, we just need to sell people pure tobacco, we'd be fine. I have an uncle that smoked a tobacco pipe every day of his life, and he lived to be almost 100 with no lung problems whatsoever.
Yep.
That
Zippy, go ahead.
Just get greedy.
Oh, I know. Zippy with a Rumble rant says government cannot fix the problem of exploitation in the market. Government does this, market does that. Government has to do that, market does this. It's never-ending modern corruption. The driving force is individual property rights. True. Thank you for the Rumble rant. Genuinely appreciate it. But yeah, we've got a chance here to maybe do some really cool stuff. Really cool stuff. Now, I've got one last thing, and this is for all of you dog owners out there. So, Tracy, I think you're going to appreciate this as much as anybody else. Let's be honest. Some pets love the changing of the seasons. Some of them don't. So that sort of begs the question, what are your dogs like in winter? Well, Gypsy sent me this one, and I have to thank her for it. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I cannot play the music because I will get in trouble, but enjoy the following.
Mimic, you are not a fucking husky. Get
Oh. What the? What? Oh, my word. Look at these crazy dogs. I know. This is funny. This is funny as all. What in the what?
It's
the
fun
what?
for my dogs for about 5 minutes.
No.
And then they realize it's cold and they want to come back in.
Oh, my word. All right. Now the dogs hate the snow. Okay. Wow. Now that takes some strength. When a Kentucky dog moved to Montana. Oh, okay. Oh, gosh. These are funny. Nope. Not going outside. Oh, these are cute. These are absolutely. No, thank you. What the? What? No. Goodbye. Oh, that is funny. That is funny as all get out. Oh, my goodness. All right. Let's bring this train to the station. Tracy, thank you for stopping by this morning. I genuinely do appreciate hanging out with us. That was a load of fun. No, it's an absolute load of fun to have you here, darling. What have you got coming up on your channel, by the way? I saw the stream from last night, but what else is cooking in your world?
I've got a video that I did with Darius Simpson that'll be dropping this week, and I've got on the Matrix about the Susan Smith murder case from way back in 1994 and talk about her recent denial of parole. So that's what I've got coming up real soon. And then I believe Wednesday night is our normal night on your channel, so we'll be right back here.
That is correct. That is correct. 6 p.m. Eastern. It'll be on my channel. For my part, I will be back Monday night at 7:30 for chatting on the porch. And like I said, I've got to confirm it with her and make sure that we're still on for this coming Tuesday night. But if nothing happens, please mark your calendars as the Persian princess of positivity herself, Lady Nina Infinity, will be stopping by 7 p.m. Eastern, and we're looking forward to having her here. So with that, we're going to pop out. I know there's some college football games still going on this afternoon. It is Championship Saturday. For what it's worth, my beloved Marshall Thundering Herd is playing tonight against University of Louisiana for the Sun Belt title. Woot woot! And I'll be checking that out. You know that's for sure. In the meanwhile, you guys have an absolutely great weekend. Love every one of you.
Oh,
and remember the word. Yes, go ahead.
Oh no! Just after this stream backstage, we need to discuss Auburn versus Alabama because that was interesting.
Indeed. So with that, folks, you guys have a great weekend. I'll see you Monday night at 7:30.
You had the same reaction to the game I did.
Yes. Anyway, love you guys very much, and remember the words of that great American philosopher Tom T. Hall. It's faster horses, younger lovers, older whiskey, and more money. Merry Christmas. I'll see you Monday night.